Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
They had media night last night down in New Orleans, and it doesn't have the organic nature it used to have. I mean, maybe I'm just jelly because I'm not down there.
FOMO.
With Myles Garrett, it's the same situation. Like, he obviously wants out of Cleveland.
I heard he might go to the Lakers.
Exactly.
If you're going to do that joke right, it's the Dodgers.
Paul doesn't like the Celtics, and Evan does.
Oh, that's not true. I don't like Evan. There's a difference.
Why do they want to trade him? Just to offload
Evan's
salary?
money.
He's toast, yeah.
He's not toast.
He's toast.
He
He's
might
pretty
be
much
injured,
toast.
but when he's out there, he does
He's okay.
Yeah,
Lightly brown
yeah,
toast.
he's okay.
He's
He's
like-
not toast.
He's kind
Buttered
of toast.
toast.
Fred.
He's in the toaster. Like, I don't know if he's done.
He's warm.
But
He's warming
You're
in
on like
the
the
Yeah.
first setting. It's like lightly brown.
It's
There's
so
a difference
good.
between a rub and a pick.
I totally agree.
Right, Ball Knower?
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, cold and snowy, and we're expecting even more snow for Super Bowl Sunday. So if you've got plans, you might want to get there early and don't plan on leaving because at least you're in this area because we're supposed to get dumped on.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be warm and cozy in the house watching Super Bowl. I watch all the pregame stuff. Do you guys watch the pregame
you really?
stuff? Oh yeah.
You get into that?
Yeah.
I put it on.
So-
I like to have the
Yeah,
atmosphere, but
that's
I'm not
what
like
I-
watching.
I'm
it.
with Mike.
So what I'll do, I'll put on ESPN early, and then as soon as the network that's covering the game starts their coverage, then I turn to that and all the way through.
I like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
my plan.
I just like
You
to have
watch
the
a lot of
atmosphere.
pregame stuff?
No, because usually
Not a
we're
lot
in,
of ball-knowing
we're
stuff
in,
then?
we're in transit to wherever we're going to be watching the game. So I wouldn't say that, but the Puppy Bowl, probably watch that in the morning.
Very cute.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, catch a little bit of that.
Puppies.
So it's Evan, it's Paul, it's Deuce, it's still a well-tanned Alex.
Oh.
It's
Trying to maintain
myself
it as long as I
and-
can.
And yeah, Tanorama, is that what you're doing?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's all natural.
And then,
Guatemala.
All
Matt in the
natural.
booth. So we're talking Patriots and everything else for the next 2 hours. We did have a big announcement
Yeah.
from the Patriots. Not breaking news, but it firmed up all the reports that we've been talking about in terms of who are the coaches going to be. And Paul, you have that list in front of you. Why don't you go down the list and let us know the 2025 New England Patriots coaching
Yeah,
staff?
so we can now no longer have to say that these aren't official.
Right.
These are now official. So offensively, we have Josh McDaniels, offensive coordinator, obviously. Thomas Brown, tight ends, passing game coordinator. Doug Marrone, offensive line. Jason Hodeling, did I do that right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Assistant offensive line. Robert Kugler, assistant offensive line. So, again, 2 assistant offensive line coaches. I guess that's a new thing.
Plus Dante in waiting, right?
We got more on that in a moment.
Okay.
Todd Downing, wide receivers. Tony Dews, running backs. Ashton Grant, quarterbacks. Riley Larkin and Chucky Keaton, offensive assistants.
Okay.
Jeremy Springer and Tom Quinn will handle the special teams. Springer is the special teams coordinator. Tom Quinn, as he was last year, assistant special teams. On the defensive side, Terrell Williams, we talked about him a little bit last week, defensive coordinator. Inside linebackers, Zach Kerr. Is that Mike?
Yes.
You,
Yeah, that sounds
you
about
can
right.
correct my pronunciations, please.
Kerr.
Scott Booker, the safeties coach. Justin Hamilton will handle the cornerbacks. Clint McMillan, defensive line. This is the newest one that I just heard about yesterday, I think. Mike Smith, outside linebackers.
Nope.
Vinny DePalma, not to be confused with Louis, defensive assistant. Kevin Richardson, defensive assistant. Milton Patterson, defensive assistant. And Ben McAdoo, senior defensive assistant. So also, Deron Mayo is the the strength and conditioning coach, which I found fascinating.
I did
Yeah.
too.
So he stays as the special strength. Why do I keep saying special teams? Strength and conditioning, and Brian McDonough will be his assistant. So he stays too.
Gotta mention Frank.
John Stryker,
Stretch.
Stretch.
Vice President of Football Ops and Strategy,
Fancy.
and Frank Pereno is the Director of Sports Performance.
So he's the real
Yeah, that's my
head
question.
strength and conditioning
Right.
coach. Frank Frank
so
the
it's,
Tank.
So a little, maybe kind of a demotion for Jerome Mayo, or is he still? I don't know how that divvies up. There
I
was
think
no
it's
director of
more
sports
like there was
performance.
somebody hired above him,
Yeah.
I would say, than a demotion necessarily. But
Yeah, it's a new position. I don't think they had that position. last
correct,
year,
yeah.
right?
Frank the Tank was with with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, so he's a lot of the stuff that he does too is in the sports science realm, not just strength and conditioning, but also some of the new injury prevention and all that cool stuff as well.
Yep. So there it is.
Yeah, that's now all made official late yesterday by the Patriots.
Yeah. Now you said you had something on Dante.
No, these gentlemen went back and heard he appeared on WEEI this morning.
Yeah.
Dante Scarnecchia. There was a report yesterday. Greg Bedard
It was
earlier
Bill
in the
O'Brien
week.
that broke the news.
Earlier in the
Yeah.
week, Greg Bedard wrote that it was his understanding that Dante would be involved on an as-needed basis as a consultant with the offensive line. Bill O'Brien, the now Boston College head coach, yesterday indicated on his podcast that was a done deal. He was working already. And you guys have updates
Yeah,
on
and then-
that. So I'll let Mike and Evan
Yeah, Dante
go
was
from
on Greg Hill this morning. Greg Hill asked him directly, and he said, "No, I'm not. I haven't been, and I won't." So
What?
yeah, I don't know.
That's a little classic.
But what was the exact question? Because what was he answering?
Well,
to?
it was. I mean, they asked him directly about the reports that you're going to be helping out there. He said, "No, that's not true." And then Courtney Cox said, "Well, he kind of walked it back a little bit this morning. Just said you've been consulting and you've been around a little bit." And he said, "No, I haven't been. I've been playing pickleball." That was essentially what his response was. So I don't know.
So I don't know what to
What's
think.
real
I
or
don't
not.
know about the Dante.
But I think they got
Scarnecchia
3
involvement.
coaches. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of said it Tuesday, like, not that I didn't want Dante, but at a certain point, you got to move on. And they've got not only a very experienced offensive line coach now, but 2 offensive line assistants, one of whom was here last year. So how many? I mean, I get we got to fix the offensive line, but how many coaches do you need? I mean, that seems like a lot. So I don't know. I would hopefully trust that the Marone and his 2 assistants can get the job done without. I love Dante. It'd be cool if he was coming back, but at a certain point, you got to move on and find someone else.
Well, but even just someone who's a phone call away, I think I look at that as an advantage. Like just
Yeah.
to be able to call them up and say, "Hey, how did you do such and such?" We got a issue here. We're trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
How did you deal with this when you were the
Yeah.
like? I think if you can have that type of expertise at a phone call away, take advantage of it.
If it sounded to me, based off of listening to O'Brien, that it was more about Doug Marrone maybe getting to know Josh and his system a little bit and trying to help him with that transition than it was going to be anything more in depth than that. And it was like he was kind of just around BC, around the facility and stuff, and maybe they had kind of chatted and talked some ball here and there. But I can understand why Scar would push back on it being like a true consulting job. Like I don't think it's that it was ever that in depth based on what O'Brien said.
In any event, the staff is now official.
Yep.
It's been released. You can get that on Patriots.com. I know it's a lot of new names, so if you want to get up to date with their backgrounds and what connection they do or don't have with Mike Vrabel, it's all on Patriots.com.
Yeah, Evan wrote up an analysis as well
Yep.
of it. So,
Yep.
yeah, off we go, I guess. That's waiting for this moment for them to round things out. So, yeah, big piece of the pie, and I guess we'll be the combine in a couple of weeks.
Now, there is another part of, the football administration, which is the scouting and personnel. And, we know Elliot Wolf is there. We know Ryan Cowden is there. But there's a whole bunch of scouts and personnel people. I don't know who's left over from last year, who's new. There could be a lot of new faces there as well. We don't know that.
I think after the draft, maybe there might be some changes.
Yeah,
there.
probably.
Yeah, it sounds like just based off of the people that were at the Senior Bowl that a lot of those faces are going to stick around through the cycle and then maybe some changes after the draft. I'm just speculating on that, but the people that were at the Senior Bowl are people that I recognized from been here in the past.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know who I'm interested in, Fred, and I got to witness a little bit of their interaction. I know Evan did too. Is Stretch, and he just he's a tower like Vrabel is.
Yeah, he's probably, 6'7"?
I mean, he's
He's a tall guy. I don't know why they call him Stretch.
I guess he was stretched out at some point, but just witnessing a little bit of their interaction, it's just I'm not sure exactly what the comparison. I was initially like Han Solo, Chewbacca, but they just seem like two peas in a pod. Like they seem like kind of the same guy to me. You can see like now I kind of understand why Stretch was with the Rams and everyone was just like, no, he's definitely going to Vrabel, like with New England. They just I don't know what you saw of them, Evan, down there, but they seem like two guys who are very much on the same wavelength, and it seems like Vrabel goes right to him with everything. And as we've been talking, it seems like he's a little bit Bear, she's a little bit. Ernie Adams, I guess. He's a little bit of everything. So it's an interesting new relationship.
Well, we talked about it on this show, like, the brain drain that the Patriots had. And a lot of people often forget Ernie Adams leaving. Yeah. And I think that affected Bill. I think he used Ernie Adams the way we hope Vrabel's going to be able to use Stretch. They were just on the same wavelength. And they could talk without even speaking words. Yeah. And that's really valuable to a head coach because there's so much that they have to do and keep their eye on. And to have that second in command that can handle a lot of that for you and give good advice, it's priceless.
Well, the title's interesting to me because I think he was like, game management
consultant
he didn't have, something with the Rams?
He didn't have the operational responsibilities. It didn't sound like with the Rams that he's going to have with here, like the Burge Nigerian side. I don't think that he was doing as much of that stuff in Los Angeles, but he's like a little bit different than Ernie, I would say, because Ernie was a football guy. Like Ernie was, he could like scout players and like do all that stuff. I don't think Stretch's going to be doing as much of that as he is going to be helping Vrabel manage the clock on
situational
game.
football.
Yeah.
Did he go to your school, Paul? Was he a graduate?
He has not taken the course.
He's matriculated? No.
He has not taken the course, so we'll see. The jury's out on him.
Well, Paul's in negotiations. He might be one of his professors. So
he's got to go through the test, though, right?
I do wonder, though, because he gets a title with VP in the front of it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if maybe they had to sort of do something that was a step up.
Sure. Yep.
Could be to get him out of LA.
Yeah, and I have no idea. Maybe his contract was up. Maybe it doesn't really matter. I don't know.
Feels to me like, I'm just speculating, but it feels like Vrabel was like, this guy has to come here. We're getting him. Like, whatever we have to call him, but he's coming here.
Yep.
That was my takeaway with a lot of the guys on the staff that they hired. This staff had to take some work. This was not there's some big name coaches on the staff that have been head coaches. There's 4 former head coaches. There's 5 former offensive coordinators or play callers. There's a lot of guys on here. Like Doug Marrone's a veteran coach in this league. I don't think that you just get Doug Marrone for peanuts. I think you paid for a staff. Like this is a pretty significant staff. There's not a ton of coaches though. 22. Gerard had 29 last year, so it's a little bit smaller than what they had last year. But some of these guys were tied to contractually to other places or had pretty good titles. Scott Booker was a senior defensive assistant for Buffalo last year and comes over to coach safeties here with the Patriots. So there's a pretty penny spent on this staff, I would think.
Yeah.
Probably a better problem to have than we had last year, though. Like even though it was a bigger staff, it just felt like the hiring process took so much just to get guys in the door to come even interview.
Yeah,
like it just wasn't as appealing, And
it just seemed like Mayo was handed to people, like because he had no clue,
right?
Like
no
who to
network.
hire. He didn't have a network, so he was just given these people,
right?
Like this is who we got.
Yeah,
this is who we could get
based on advice and trust.
But this it seems like there was more thought and into this, and Vrabel had people in mind who he wanted, who he was familiar with, and you have a lot more confidence.
For sure.
Yeah. Going into 2025.
One thing that's just interesting to me with the quote from the press release was Vrabel saying the goal in filling out the 2025 Patriots coaching staff was to identify loyal, trustworthy coaches who are diverse in background. I thought that loyal and trustworthy, it was interesting to me that those were 2 of the first words they used to describe. Not that, I don't know, I didn't really read into anything in the past that made me think like, I don't know, maybe Vrabel did deal with guys who weren't loyal or trustworthy, but clearly he has an element of a lot of guys that were in Tennessee, or Josh he obviously knows very well. But those 2 words stood out to me. I
think going back to Parcells, who was the first coach I was familiar with here, having loyal coaches on your staff who you can trust is a big part of the game for these head coaches, because you see it even with you have staff that you deem loyal and trustworthy. Stuff gets out there.
Yeah.
And nothing gets, up the skin of a coach of having this stuff out there when you thought, hey, this was supposed to be internal. Why is someone talking about this stuff? And loyal and trustworthy, I think, has always been on everybody's mind. But I think it is interesting that those are the first two descriptors in the staff.
Maybe this is a stretch, but but you noticed a lot of these coaching moves got announced by random bloggers. It wasn't the usual suspects.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Kind of pitching these things. I don't know
Random
if those
Twitter.
two things are connected, but a lot of guys that I've never even seen on Patriots Twitter before in my life were breaking these stories. So I don't know if those two things are connected, but it definitely is an interesting kind of shift from what we're used to.
I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I tickled your fancy with that ball. I know. Anytime
I don't have an answer. I have nothing, not even a speculation.
Yeah.
Well, as the season gets
But
going,
it is interesting.
Trades. I mean, maybe there are trades coming up or free agent deals. Who's going to break those? I mean, I'm sure the big ones we know. It'll be the Schefters and the Rappaports. But that was kind of a key story over those first couple of weeks where these other guys breaking
Typically,
these stories.
there's a leak that the league closes very quickly when that type of stuff happens. Like maybe they have access to a database or an onboarding database in particular with one of the guys. I think is how he's getting access. He's got a password from somebody.
Well, there is a thing called the Management Council dashboard.
Yeah.
And you have to be at a certain level of a team. But once you have access to that, everybody's contract, the coach's every financial thing and transaction that's being considered from every other team.
Wow. So somebody could hack into that maybe. And
that was the scuttlebutt was that one of the people might have access to that. And my guess is that will get closed eventually. They'll figure out.
Oh, he has access to the council. I don't have that.
Right.
That's the only reason why he's getting it.
Well, no one's supposed to have that.
No, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
Right. My point is that
information?
it's not like they're talking to people and getting this information directly from a reliable source. They've kind of cheated the system.
So I wondered because a lot of these guys have ties to the Titans. Right? They were with
10 of
Mike.
them.
They were with Mike and I thought maybe there's a young guy who maybe had ties with Tennessee.
Right.
And that's how he was finding out all these guys were going. But Evan's theory makes some sense.
It could be, just as credible. So
Do you have access to that system, Frank?
hell no. Hell no.
Why don't you send us that?
About it,
Send us that password.
I'll
So-
Thank you.
My only experience with it is there were a couple times where we had job openings and we wanted to, somebody from another team would reach out, and before we actually talk to them, because they're another NFL team, we'd have to get permission. And the way you do that is you have to have somebody here who has access put in the request through that dashboard to the other team, and then they answer via that dashboard, like it's okay to talk to Alex.
I see.
But the reason, so it's all recorded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no question. Oh, did they ask for permission? Did they not? Did they reply? Did
There's
they
a paper
not?
trail.
It's all in the dashboard, and so it's complete visibility to all the teams.
Yeah. What information though? I mean, that'd be.
Oh,
it'd be
it's
fun
a
to dig
in
through
the
that.
wrong hands.
Yeah.
That's a very powerful and dangerous platform.
Do you ever get like the book in your town where it lists like all the government teachers, everybody in your town, what they get paid?
Right.
Like I find that kind of interesting too.
Right.
Like this teacher's
No,
making
I
like
don't have any of
$200K. Like what the hell?
Well, that's the thing you see with public universities, and people go crazy about how much the football coach is making.
Belichick.
And
Well, with
Right.
those universities, you have to.
right,
You have
public
to.
Bill's
school.
contract is public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the
State-
first
Yeah.
time in his life, probably.
Yeah.
State schools. Yeah.
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 Yeah, you can request Bill Belichick's contract and they have to give it to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So what else do we got? We got the Super Bowl coming
Yeah.
up.
Drake won the ping pong championship last night.
Did he?
Yeah. He beat who was
Micah
it?
Parsons.
Micah Parsons.
Ping
Wow.
pong.
There you go.
He's a killer.
We got our guy.
He's a killer. Kind of funny. I mean, you would expect the youngest brother of 4 boys,
Right,
probably
ping pong.
pretty good at ping pong. 'Cause
Yeah.
Anything you could play in the basement or living room, he's
For
probably
sure.
really, really good at.
yeah.
I was not surprised to hear that he won because when I wrote the feature about when the Patriots drafted Drake Maye, one of his coaches down in North Carolina told me about him playing ping pong in their facility against
So he's a ringer.
teammates, and he's he's quite good and quite intense.
Did you
It
see
takes it
what
very
kind of grip
serious.
does he have? Does he have?
Oh no, he's got not the Forrest Gump grip. I think. No, I don't know. I didn't
Yeah.
see. It didn't look like they were
This
too.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right.
He apparently, when he would lose, he would not take it well.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. That's,
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
that's
like
the Brady
replacing
thing,
the
right?
ping pong table every couple
Yeah.
months.
I know.
Yeah, that was the story that he took. It was that exactly for that purpose, Mike, was to kind of show his competitiveness. And he's like, he doesn't want to lose at anything,
Yeah.
even ping pong, you know.
Good.
Yeah.
I like
After
it.
that performance in the Pro Bowl games, I like it though.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
very
well,
Well, this
well.
is more important. I think
I know
this
ping
show's
pong.
more
I feel great now. We're on track, baby.
I think we
Absolutely.
can all agree ping pong more important than throwing. Yes.
Well, especially at the Pro
quarterback.
Bowl.
So
something, for the effort?
so next up for the football staff is, I guess, getting ready for the combine. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually do their February draft prep meetings over the next couple weeks, where they do start to stack a little bit and start to get the board.
Vertically and horizontally.
Exactly.
Okay.
They start to get the board, at least a general idea of who, because you can only technically request so many interviews at the combine, so you have to get that list together and sort of put a close to the in-person scouting now that the all-star games are over and get into this part.
When can you ask guys to show up at your facility and do private workouts?
I don't know the actual date, but I think it's definitely after the combine.
After the combine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't get an early look at somebody.
I don't think so. No.
No. And thereby not having to interview that many at the combine.
Oh, I see. I don't believe so. No, but you can go to their campus as many times as you want.
Starting when now?
No, after I think it's after the combine.
After the combine, right?
Yeah.
You can go right. You can go anywhere you want. It's just
Yeah.
you're limited to how many you can bring here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that we'll look forward to that. We'll have a full contingent down at the combine, producing content and reports. So looking forward to that.
Number five.
Fred, you and I will anchor coverage from.
Yep, we'll be
From
here.
here, correct.
We'll call in,
Yep.
check in with you guys, give you the move.
Has any
Walter
word
Cronkite.
about Barth? Have they opened up the purse strings to allow him to go?
He told me that he was going to play your rant for his bosses. Though. He said he was gonna
There you
use
go.
it as-
That's why I did it.
Right.
That's why I did it.
Yeah, I told him we could get him a cot. I'll put him in the hallway
sure.
or
Oh.
something.
Oh, yeah, just share a bed with
Share a
me.
bed.
And,
Abe Lincoln
absolutely
did it. If
not.
it was
Nothing you haven't
gonna
done
happen,
before.
Build like a
Lincoln did it.
divider wall.
Yeah.
Maybe you sleep on one side, his head's next to your
I will admit we have shared a hotel room together, but
The
not-
double queen.
Feet to head.
Yeah.
Feet to head.
Yeah. Feet to head, it's fine.
and him on the other side of the queen, and me on
Okay.
yeah,
That's fine.
in a couple places, Buffalo.
Imagine
Yeah.
you guys just like, who are you thinking about? Mason Graham. Good one.
They both have nice thoughts when I fall asleep.
Well,
now.
see, Barth talks in his sleep, so Evan stays up and he hears Barth.
It's been a while. It's been since the Clintus days since we've done that, so it's been a minute.
The
Doubled
Clintus
up.
days.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? What else? We're going to do the
Them like
Super Bowl picks.
podcasting in bed.
We're going to do our Super Bowl picks later in the show.
Yeah, you got some props there, Paul?
You have some props?
I did a few,
Couple, yeah.
not a ton, but I just did some straightforward stuff like Matt usually does for the weekly stuff.
That'd be fun. Make it
Barkley
interesting.
rushing yards and
Yep.
Mahomes passing and all that kind of.
So if you
good
want to
stuff.
call in and give us your Super Bowl pick, maybe Paul will keep a poll, and we'll see what our listeners
You want me to put a
think.
put a
Yeah.
little poll together?
A little poll
poll?
together. Chiefs or Eagles.
So we do have some over-unders for the newsletter coming
Yeah,
up,
I
too.
know. I got to answer those.
Yeah.
Sure do.
855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Podcast at patriots.com is the email address. Got a lot of emails coming in. So
Why don't you read some?
thank you for that.
Already.
I just want to make sure that we got everything on the table before we get into our listeners.
Yeah. No, I think that's about
Anything
it.
happened down the Super Bowl of
So
note?
how about this? For the Super Bowl, I would say, and if you guys disagree, you can let me know, but I would say it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Would you say there's not necessarily
Yeah.
you
The
know, a
Myles
ton
Garrett
of Super Bowl?
requesting a trade, I feel like, is one of the.
Yeah,
Well,
pieces
but I'm
of-
talking about the
Thanks
Super
to
Bowl.
the NBA trade
Yeah.
deadline.
That's where I was going to get
Yeah.
at.
You're right.
They kind of hijacked the
Good for
Super Bowl
them.
week. No,
A little bit, yeah.
I mean,
You know,
the Luka
the NBA?
Doncic trade is one of the most surprising trades of my lifetime.
I
Like,
saw
I've
videos where
never
like
seen anything
DJs
like
were
that.
in a club
That's
and they
exactly where I was
stopped their
going.
Yeah.
set to announce
Yeah.
the trade.
Yeah. No, there's been some really big
But
name
there's
players.
also-
That's the
on it.
most shocking trade I can remember. In
but
recent
that's
history.
obviously
100%.
the biggest. But there's
Yeah.
other like the Jimmy Butler
Yeah.
trade is big too. There was even
Fans breaking
Chris
the
Middleton
trade
just
got
to
traded
Chris
for
Love
Kuzma.
sitting on the bench was kind of wild.
Kevin
Love. I love Kevin Love. Like
We know.
major.
We
yeah.
We
so
know.
that
We
was,
get
Do you
it.
really?
I
Is that
get
just
really
because
do.
of
No,
IG?
it's
Evidently
it's a
he's-
female thing.
He
He's
did
quite
some
the
great
thing on
work,
IG.
some great modeling. He had a Banana Republic
does-
campaign I really enjoyed.
He does some great
His
work.
wife is a great model that
we
I
don't like
I
her,
like her
though.
too.
We get it. They all love Kevin Love.
Isn't he really old?
Yeah.
I like it though. It's like
He's in the
he's
back.
got the
He's on the
tall
back
I mean,
back
I'm
nine.
thing
saying that.
going
Look,
on a little
I'm
bit.
old, but
Yeah.
I just feel like he's been around.
There you go, Mike.
forever, right?
NBA talk for you.
Getting back to football, your show tried to make some news yesterday.
Did they?
They weren't successful, but they had Malcolm Butler on,
Oh,
Felger and Maz, and they peppered him,
He-
trying to get
he
him
ain't
to
never gonna
say,
tell.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Malcolm was sticking to the coach's decision answer.
what was that like for you guys when you guys went to that Super Bowl, right? You
Oh.
actually got to watch it
Yeah.
from the building in the
course.
side.
Like,
the
should I
Super Bowl?
call up some more of my Facebook memories that have just been peppering me all week?
What was that? Because I don't know. I mean, I remember on TV they were talking about it, but was that just out of nowhere? I mean, I know there was reports that he like came late, was sick. Like, were there
it
any
was
kind
out
of
of
heads
nowhere.
up or
Reports
anything?
before the game.
There was nothing about it. It was
No.
just Malcolm Butler crying on the sidelines during the game.
No, Andy and I, and we didn't know that, like the whole crying on the sideline,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we're in the auxiliary press box, just not the same as the
Sounds
regular
fancy.
press box where Fred is. So Andy and I are sitting there, and it was like maybe the second series, and it kind of dawned on us, and I go, "Hey, did you see?" He goes, "Butler," and I go, "Yeah." He goes, "No," and it was like the second series before we realized this is a guy who plays like every play, and he hasn't
Yeah.
been on the field yet.
Yeah.
And then we didn't realize that, Al Michaels would, they had talked about it, and they showed that
Yeah.
clip that's now sort of iconic.
Yeah.
Well,
And
there was
we had no idea.
There was a report that was kind of circulating in Minneapolis about the week before they got there that he was either sick or
Yeah.
he
that
was
it
late.
came late or
He
something.
Late.
came late, but a lot of this stuff came out after.
I
the
thought
fact.
that was going around before, like
Yeah.
Malcolm was in trouble or
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I just didn't know about it. But I
Yeah.
think that was afterwards. But no, you could be right.
Yeah.
Maybe that was before.
but they tried like hell to get him to open up, and
I've
he didn't
tried.
do it.
Nothing.
No.
Off
He's
the
gonna go to
record.
his grave with it.
Yeah, no, he's gonna go to his grave with it.
Yep.
Wow.
Either that, or they're gonna profit bigly off of like some tell-all book or
Well,
something
didn't he
like
say
that.
he
where
was
it's
going to
gonna
write
be-
a book last year?
I think he
year
was
before,
making fun of
teasing
people.
it? Oh.
Yeah, but I did. That's like the kind of where it's going now. Kind of makes me feel like they're waiting for the right moment to like strike on announcing this or revealing this to make
Well,
money
I feel like
off
it
of
would
it.
have come out.
I think
already.
my all I can guess is that the answer doesn't benefit either side.
That's what I agree.
So
I
there's
think
in other words, there's incentive for both sides to remain quiet,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yep.
make Malcolm look good, and
it doesn't.
make Bill
Right.
look good either.
Right.
So there
'Cause-
was a story, and I told you about this, Mike. The Ringer had a pretty lengthy feature on Malcolm Butler and the play, sort of his rise and quick exit from the league, and it wasn't really anything newsworthy. There was no noteworthy items that we all didn't already know. But I did think it was funny, and they had a lot of quotes from Logan Ryan, from Devin McCourty in the piece, and at one point Devin said that they were like, come on, why is he not playing? Why is he not playing? And they went to, I think it was Josh Boyer, and said, come on, you got to put Malcolm in the game, and Boyer just said to him that it's not my call. It's the head. That's the head coach.
Oof.
The head coach won't let me, I think was the quote that Boyer had. So I did find it kind of interesting that
The only
came down to
the
that.
only interesting thing I thought that maybe shed a little light on it, that Malcolm said yesterday is they're asking like, what about like just getting in the second half? And he's like, well, maybe they thought it'd be even worse if I was in there.
I mean, how could it be worse?
Definitely could not have been worse.
Right.
Jonathan Batamosi, remember him?
Johnson.
Whatever.
So you don't remember him?
Eric
Put respect
Rowe
on the
and
name.
Alshon Jeffrey.
So
It was.
Aguilar.
I did think it was funny when I think Felger tried to sort of get into it. He's like, so like there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of stories about that, and he goes like, well, what stories? And he goes, well, what did you hear? And he goes, that you got in a fight with Steve Belichick. And he was just like,
right.
Oh yeah.
And he wouldn't budge. He's like, no, it's coach's decision. That was it.
Watching that game, it was so frustrating because Brady is having historical Super Bowl offensive game. He ends up with over 500 yards up and down the field, but we just couldn't get a stop.
Yeah.
We couldn't get a stop. And at some point, one of the greatest defensive minds in football history has to say, I got to try something. But he refused to do it.
Yeah.
And that something obviously was Malcolm Butler. Just to watch Philadelphia go up and down with Nick Foles was so damn frustrating.
Do you look at it any different now after that Dynasty doc where it really seemed like they painted the picture that in 2017 was where it felt like Bill kind of started to, there were some cracks in the foundation of him having the team. And I don't know, I mean, if that was a symptom or one of the reasons why, but I guess in hindsight now it makes a little bit more sense to me of things were starting to not go great.
Now, listen, I don't know if what the Dynasty was saying is accurate or not, but I thought that they were trying to tell us that Belichick himself started to change a little bit after Spygate, where he's like he could trust even less. Like he was always a distrustful person, close loop of people, but after that, he trusts even less people and became even more insular. And after Spygate, because people around the league who we thought like he was in a fraternity with, like
Mangini.
Were saying stuff about him, and like so he started to change after that. That's what I thought the documentary was trying to tell us. I don't know if it's true or not. But that's a message that I got from it.
I get Mike's point though. To me, it makes it more amazing that they were able to come back and win it in 18. Now, I think that most Patriots fans would say that was a team that maybe out of that era, the least likely. I mean, when you were getting into December and losing those games to Miami and Pittsburgh, I don't think a lot of people were like, they're gonna win number 6. I even though there was confidence that, as long as you got Brady and Belichick, you got a shot, that kind of stuff. But they did not look good. That team was not playing great. And they ended up winning the Super Bowl anyway. But I think the part of what Mike is saying, like the cracks, but I can't believe the play at Miami happened even now. Like a Bill Belichick coach team allowed that play to happen. Still kind of, every time I see it, I'm almost as much astounded by it as I was when it happened real time. So you can kind of understand what Mike's talking about, the cracks that were starting to show.
18 definitely in the regular season. I covered that team, and that offense was already
Well, let me
on
ask
the
you a
decline.
question on the 18 offense.
Mike, take a step back.
Does
ball nowhere time.
No, but I can ask all of you, obviously, but does Josh McDaniels not get enough credit for the way the offense kind of changed up gears toward the end of the season?
You can make that argument. Yeah, I mean, definitely those last 2 weeks of the season, they said we're going to, as they like to call it, a regular team. We're going to put the fullback in the backfield. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to do that sort of thing. And they kind of warmed up to it those last 2 weeks of the year against the Bills and the Jets, I think it was. And then that carried over into the playoffs. But really, to me, like Edelman in particular, like turned another gear on in the postseason. I mean, he was great throughout that entire postseason run. So he sort of flipped the switch, and then they had just enough Gronk still that he made some big plays in overtime against KC and in the Super Bowl to get them over the top. But I mean, they were relying on Josh Gordon to be an impact player for them in 18 during the regular season, and you could tell already that the attrition at wide receiver and at the pass catcher positions was already catching up to them, and especially because Gronk just wasn't the same guy. Like Gronk was clearly slowed by injuries and things like that.
Remember at the beginning of that season, was it at the beginning of the season where for an instant you had Antonio Brown and
that was 19.
Well, that was 19.
Oh, that was
19,
and
the year
Gordon?
after.
Yeah, that was.
And you're
19.
like, oh my God, we're gonna have this like.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
They had Demaryius Thomas for a minute too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I've cut him, I think. But
Edelman was selling T-shirts with all the receivers,
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Like they were like the Avenger receivers and stuff, and then like 3 days later he had to
Yeah.
be like, all right, sorry about that, guys. If you bought the shirt,
Right.
I
I'll
mean, I
refund
remember I started here in 2019. My first game in this job was that
Coincidence? I
Pittsburgh
think not.
opener, and they had acquired Antonio Brown, I think earlier in the day, maybe, or the day
Yeah,
before,
Saturday.
and they just
on the
rocked the
golf
Steelers.
course.
And then you're like, this team's gonna add Antonio Brown. I just remember that feeling up there of like, this thing ain't gonna stop. Like, and now I get to see it firsthand, and then, that team obviously just completely fell apart after that
Yeah.
Ravens game.
There was a lot of signs of 19 and 18.
Yeah.
And then Brady, Edelman, and Gronk just turned back the clock one more time for the playoff run, and were able to do it. But it was already kind of showing, and I think the relationships were, looking back on it, you could kind of tell that Brady and Belichick were already icy
And
at that
remember
point,
when
too.
Danny Amendola left? I remember Gronk writing like on his Instagram, like,
free.
"You're finally free, be
Yeah.
free."
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
when you were like, "Wait, what?" That at least for me, that was the first time I was like, "Wait, this isn't all like rainbows and kittens." They don't.
And so
They're
it's,
not all
it's funny that you
thrilled.
say that, because that's the perspective of someone that's still a fan,
Right.
and still,
For sure.
for lack of a better word, innocent.
Yeah.
Like we were talking on this show, Fred, Mike, and I, and like talking about a lot of these things. And you remember how much pushback we would get, because this was around the time where the Wickersham story started to happen, and never. And I not to play my buddy Felger's role, but you're making it up. But like they made fun of us all the time.
Yeah.
Why,
Unnamed sources.
why are you talking
Yeah.
about this stuff? This is nonsense. This is not
Wickersham
happening.
was like enemy number one.
And it's like, no, it was all happening, and it's probably way worse than even we said at the time, and still no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, we probably don't know the half of it,
Right.
of how bad it was.
Well, hearing Devin's reaction, I just wonder, as a coach, how do you get that trust back? Like, you feel like you're one of your best players in one of the biggest moments is kind of being punished, and you don't. Maybe they know why. I don't know. I mean, has
Thomas-
it ever come out? Does everyone know, or is this like a Bill and Malcolm thing, and no one else has any idea?
I think it's got, like Fred said, I think it has to be that bad where no one looks good.
Yeah.
And
I can
people
only imagine-
understand that, and out of respect for everyone involved, they've kept quiet if they
Yeah.
do know.
I
can
wonder
only-
how many people know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I
Yeah.
wonder how many different people know.
Yeah.
Well, the way that they cover it too now, you have to think that it's not just he had a bad week of practice and we benched him like
Oh,
that.
it has
Like
nothing to do with
it's
it.
not something simple like that.
No.
There's something.
Nefarious.
I don't know.
I can-
Juicy's the word,
I
but there's something there.
I can only imagine what the people on that team, offense, defense, and coaches were thinking going into that second half.
Yeah.
And as Philadelphia is still moving the ball, and another drive goes by and he doesn't play, and another
Yeah.
series goes by, it's like, what's going on?
Especially
I'm
like
surprised there wasn't
a coup.
a revolt on
Yeah.
the sideline.
Coup d'etat?
Like where like guy,
No,
especially
he's
the-
going in. He's
the
going in.
defensive
Tough
backs,
goal.
just like like a guy like
Right.
Devin who has
Right.
a lot of cachet with Bill, going up to Bill and being like,
Right.
we are in trouble. Like you need to
Yeah.
put this guy in the
That's
game.
kind of why I asked that question. I wonder how many people actually know.
Yeah.
Right.
And but I also wonder, like, by the third quarter or something, if people didn't actually go up to Malcolm and they're like, no, he's jelly, he can't function.
Yeah.
It's too late. We've lost him. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
It's a good point.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
know. He's cold. He hasn't done anything all
Right.
day.
Yeah.
It's just hard, especially.
But
where
no, Bill said he
was-
played special teams.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
One snap, right?
3 Super Bowls
Well, it's
ago,
'cause
he
no
was.
one punted.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the hero 3 Super Bowls. At that
Yeah.
point, like, not that it's connected, but still, it's this guy won us a Super Bowl with a play. We need him, please. No.
It was the trickle down effect too. Is just they didn't have anybody to play the slot. So like Patrick Chung was playing a slot corner role on Nelson freaking Aguilar, who they couldn't cover because they have a safety covering a wide receiver because Eric Rowe had to play on the outside because Malcolm Butler wasn't playing. So it was like everybody blames Johnson Badamosi, that poor guy, but really it was bigger than that. Like it was a whole trickle down effect in the secondary.
Who was the other guy? Jordan
Richards.
Yeah,
so Jordan Richards.
It was
played
really
safety,
everybody
yeah.
except for Steph.
Yeah.
I think it was Jeffrey gave him problems early, and then they put Steph on him.
Yeah.
And that kind of eliminated Jeffrey, and then they couldn't stop anybody else.
Yeah, they tried to, let's put
I
Steph
was
on
so
the number
mad.
2 and
Because
double the
imagine,
number
Right.
1. It didn't work.
Brady wins that game, all the yards, record number of yards for an offense, a quarterback. I still think that
You can make an argument. I don't think it's flawed, but you can make an argument if they win that game. It's a three-peat.
it's well, yeah.
It's flawed because you don't know what happens the next year. Everything changes.
I
But
still think that
Yeah.
he might have retired after that game.
Yeah.
that's
In
one thing that
17?
could have happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Right?
if-
You remember that was the year that he had the whole Facebook series,
right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
documentary
Yeah.
series.
You're right.
I think they had that last episode in the can, or at least written, and they had to rewrite it.
He would have come back. If he retired after that, I bet he would have come back. He would have it would have been a whole thing,
Yeah.
and then he
Michael
would have gotten
Jordan
into 18,
situation.
and he would have been like,
No, but I'm just saying, just because, I think a lot
Maybe he
of people
would've
just say,
left
well, they
sooner.
won in 16, they won in 18, they could have won in 17. That would have been a three-peat. I
Yeah.
think Fred's right.
yeah.
You don't know what would have happened had they won that game instead of lost it.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. Tom could have retired.
Yeah. Yep.
Would we still be talking about Malcolm Butler if they had won that game?
We'd be talking about
Still be a mystery, but they got that. They had a 4th down stop, right? Like they had a chance to kind of seal that game if they had a 4th down stop. There was one 4th down stop, and I think Badamosi gave up a catch.
Actually,
Frickin' mesh.
it was actually Devin.
Mesh.
It was actually Devin
Was it Dev?
McCourty on Zach Ertz. Got caught a
Right.
a
Yep.
4th and 2.
Yep.
That one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Brady could
just
still be married.
just to
if he
correct, the
won.
game wouldn't have been over if they had
Maybe.
that stop.
Right. Been a
But
nice,
they did have a
nail
chance to
in
Depends
get
when
off.
they took
They
up
did have a
jujitsu.
chance to get off the field on that last drive.
Yep.
Nick Foles, everybody.
He played. I mean, he played.
He
out of
played
his
great.
mind.
Him and
Oh,
what is
that's
it
just
about? Like
collective
just dopey
suck.
white guys, like him and Eli Manning. They're like the Patriots. Like I don't know what to do. That's what it is.
Kryptonite.
Let's see. Get to the emails at podcast@patriots.com. Aspen is in Reading. He says, I hope you're doing well. Just need to say that every time Paul sings It's Gonna Be May, when you talk about Drake May, it makes me so happy. That was my exact reaction when we drafted him. Anyway, looking at the coaching staff, I'm wondering what your overall impressions are, of course, but also why you think Matthew Slater will not be returning. Was he only involved last year because of his relationship that he and Mayo had? And maybe he and Vrabel do not have that same relationship? Regardless, it's a little sad to lose him as he had good relationships with so much of the team. Another non-coaching question. Jacoby Brissett will be a free agent this year, and I haven't heard you mention him much so far. What do you speculate he'll do? Stay with us for one more year, join another struggling team, retire? Thank you. You're welcome.
I don't think he'll stay.
I think he'll join a struggling team.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he'll stay.
Just to see what
Got a
options are
little-
out there. I'm not signing back up.
Yeah, and I don't know the Slater part of that. I don't have any information on.
I mean, he was Gerard's
Um,
kind of an assistant to the head coach. So I mean,
Right, and he doesn't. I mean, he wouldn't have that relationship. I mean, he played. I think he might have overlapped
1
with
year.
Vrabel 1 year.
8. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't necessarily have that. Certainly not as much experience with Vrabel as he did with Mayo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Troy Brown too. I mean, a couple guys that have been
Yeah,
around.
haven't
for a
heard
bit.
his name.
Yeah.
Jeff in Melbourne. Big news coming out of the NFL
Big.
having to do with Australia.
Lord
He
help
says, so
us.
it's happening. The NFL's coming to Melbourne, and there's a slim chance that the New England Patriots could be the opponents for the Rams.
Please no.
No, I don't think so. They're not
I
on
think
the
it's
list.
gonna be
for
Please no,
26.
you don't want to go to
Absolutely
Australia?
not. No,
Are we
no
not playing the
disrespect
Rams
to
in 2 years?
Australia whatsoever.
Oh, I would love that trip.
I
You
don't
can
think
go
so. The
for me.
Chargers. Let me
Gladly.
double
I
check.
think it's going to be two West Coast teams. that
Yeah.
do
Probably.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, 26.
Oh, I would go to Australia.
I just
Well,
want to say it's
there is a
nothing
small
against
chance.
There's a
people
lot of Patriots
Australia.
fans in Australia.
There's a
My-
small
Oh, yeah.
chance if the Patriots were to finish the same slot
It's
as
also
the
an
Rams
eight-
this year.
So
it
It's
could
also
happen.
an 18-hour plane
NFC
flight.
West is an away
we play
game.
we play that one
In 26.
The one random game
Yep, is an NFC West
is the
team next
NFC
year.
West
So.
that falls in the same position.
Yep. So if we
So you're
finish the
saying
same
there's
as
a
the Rams.
chance.
There is.
If the Patriots and Rams
Yay.
finish in the same position in the division in 2025, the ninth away game
Thank you,
for the
emailer,
Patriots
sorry.
will be corresponding NFC West opponent. I'm obviously getting ahead of myself, but given the hypothetical possibility, could we also have a PU down under?
Oh, jeez.
My
Th-
guess is that probably wouldn't happen.
That's
Like it'd be more like London this year, I would think. Road game,
Yeah.
not in our market, blah 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 blah.
especially you feel like the Patriots will have a Brazil game soon. I feel
well,
like,
it's
and
going to get to
that's
the point that every team's going to have one international game.
every year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
That's Fred's theory.
I just-
16 international games.
Why do they do this to me?
I know.
Why don't you wanna see the
16-hour
world?
flight.
I have no desire to fly 18 hours to Australia. To,
I can show
But the only way you
know.
could do it for is
Drugs?
whoever's playing plays Thursday. Well, you can't do both, but you need a lot of time in
You
between
need a
games.
bye.
It's like
Yeah.
from the East Coast. I do
Yeah.
think it's an 18-hour flight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
Australia's that's
No.
That's crazy.
I mean, you definitely have to have the bye.
definitely a
after.
You
commitment.
need the bye. You need to be out there all week at least.
Oh God.
And this, I mean, with the team send the whole party, the whole Germany party, everybody. We're
Well,
all
that's what
going.
I was saying. I
That's probably more a Rams thing than
like
the
last year,
visiting team.
like London, it was just a
Regular
road
game.
game.
That's why I say Brazil. Like Brazil was probably, we'll probably do it where it's a home market for us now, an international market. But I don't know if it was an away game, you're probably just going to send like last year, right? Probably.
That's what I would think.
It's actually a 21-hour flight. 20
How
hours
does a
and
plane
41
fly that
minutes.
long without
Freddie,
refueling?
you got to
have
get
to
one of
stop.
those.
That's
You
crazy.
got to get one of those like inflatable donuts.
Yeah.
Sit
Yeah,
on. I
it's
don't want.
coming.
I
Oh
don't
my
want you
gosh.
chasing.
I know it's my.
I need an
I
inflatable
worry.
bed.
That's a first class upgrade.
Oh
I
boy,
need to-
that's
I
I
a
would
got
need
that.
to
I
lay.
got that for London once.
Bill in
First class
San
upgrade.
Diego.
Giddy up.
Very
Two
nice.
quick questions. Why does it appear that no one is concerned about all these former head coaches who took jobs they are clearly overqualified for, jumping ship after one season for better positions? So, in other words, how long will this staff stay together?
'Cause I trust that Vrabel has full control of the team, and I don't think he's.
I
don't
don't
worry about him.
I think this is one of those. This is kind of like an SID stat to me that they have four
Yeah.
head coaches. Like Thomas Brown was an interim coach for like 5 games. He wasn't even an offensive coordinator until someone lost their job. Like he never even called plays until Frank Reich got fired
Yeah.
or relinquished play calling and then got fired. Like Doug Marrone, to me at this point, is probably
Out.
he's probably
Not
not
a
going to
head-
be a head
not
coach
a head
somewhere
coach
else.
again.
Josh.
Ben
Ben
McAdoo,
McAdoo, no
I don't
chance.
think is going to be a head coach somewhere. Josh, I think, is comfortable here in New England, and I think he's had 2 chances.
Yep.
Now, you want to say that you're worried about too many cooks in the kitchen, maybe? With the amount of head coaches and
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know, does Doug Marrone and Thomas Brown think they maybe know how to run the offense better than Josh McDaniels and there's butting heads
Yeah.
there? I think that's always a concern on a coaching staff. But I don't worry about these guys are going to be head coaches and they're going to leave in a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
No.
worry about it that way.
I would worry more about. I don't count Thomas Brown either.
Yeah.
I would worry more about those types of guys, though. Thomas Brown, Ashton Grant, Scott Booker, like those guys have all been sort of on the rise, if you will, in terms of on that coordinator track. And Thomas Brown, like I could easily see Thomas Brown jumping ship next year for an offensive coordinator job because that's the title. Pass game coordinator and tight ends coach is like the new title to be on that pipeline. So
But I
would
don't
think
worry
that
about
would-
it any more than I normally would with my position coaches.
No, and I
You know
think
what
that
I mean?
I think they've built in expectation that might happen. Like a guy like Riley Larkin, for example, is probably the next Ashton Grant for them, and I think they have tried to build in with some of those assistants with expectation that some of these guys might leave.
So Riley Larkin and Chucky Keaton on paper are Josh McDaniels and Brian Dable in 2000.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
And I think that's Evan's point is
Yeah.
hopefully you have them and you train them, and then when you start to have some attrition, you have somebody who can step into a positional coach
You
role.
got your bench strength.
Right.
Love it.
Yep.
Everyone thought Josh McDaniels was a safe hire. Why does no one think there is no chance that if a head coaching job at Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, etc. opened up, he wouldn't jump ship to take a job there after one season?
Josh McDaniels?
Yeah,
I don't
college.
I don't think he'd be offered it.
Yeah,
Mike Vrabel, I'd worry a little bit about something like that.
yeah.
If Ohio State, I have no idea before anybody jumps on
Ryan
this.
Day literally just signed an extension today.
No. I understand that, and he could get fired next year easily.
Well, he won a national championship. So
Right, and he could get fired next year if he loses to Michigan again.
I guess.
So I have no idea that Mike would be more interested in Ohio State than prefer Ohio State over the Patriots. But I could see that argument. if that were the case. I'm much more worried about Mike Vrabel coaches for 2 years and then goes and replaces Ryan Day at Ohio State than I would Josh McDaniels getting a college job. Yeah. Do you guys think that Josh McDaniels is going to be like a candidate for Oregon?
No.
All right. My food's here.
Oh, good.
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll get to Super Bowl picks and props later in the show, but more of your calls and emails coming up after this.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
So, of course it's going to snow. Of course. I think the forecast said, spotty, little bit maybe. Not 8 inches of snow all day long, right? And so when we get there, I don't think it's snowing yet. It's overcast like it is most every day, in the fall and the winter time. But it starts to snow when we go out there in like pregame warm-up, like checking out the field and checking out everything. And what I remember is like the biggest snowflakes you've ever seen. I mean, gigantic, super cool cinematography-wise. If you're taking a camera, you're taking pictures, it's awesome. But to play in it sucks, It starts snowing hard and harder and harder. Now you can't even really see across the field to the other sideline. I'm like, this is going to be absolutely miserable. But I'm thinking, this team from California, Oakland, they can't handle this. We're going to whoop their butts in this stuff. And they come out and play a really solid game. Most of the game, they're sticking it to us, right? They're playing really well. So, and as the game progresses on, it just gets more and more and more. And, it was interesting going out there, watching the whole tuck rule stuff and all that, when Woodson goes around the corner and, hits Tom's arm, strip sack or arm coming forward, whatever. I'm sitting there thinking, Jesus, we're cleaning out our locker tomorrow, right? I'm like, because it looked like a fumble to me, right? And then all of a sudden the referees are, we're under review. And I'm like, okay, well, thank goodness the rule at that time was what it is. I get it. And they changed the rule after that. I get it. But the way they judged it that way was the right call. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm watching that, I'm thinking, man, we're cleaning out our locker. And then all of a sudden the realism comes on to me is like, you're going to have to kick the hardest kick in your entire life, probably, to give us a chance after that. So Kenny Walters, my holder, comes up to me and he says, hey, Adam, all this snow, all this stuff, he said, I'm not going to even try to spin it. He said, I'm just going to put it down, and wherever the laces are, the laces are. And I'm like, you're building a ton of confidence for me right now, bud. Thanks a lot for this. But so literally, we went out there. It's 45 yards. Try to get a quick sweep off of the ground, and I'm thinking to myself, listen, you got to think like three things. Slow steps to it, and I've got like as long as cleats in my plant foot as I can to get a little bit of traction and stuff like that. But I'm thinking they're not going to be able to rush fast, so my timing can be a little bit slower because they're not going to be as fast either. So don't worry about that necessarily, but you're thinking like you're trying to run on ice, right? You can't take big long strides. You're going to slide and fall on your butt. And so I'm thinking shorter steps. Try to get your foot in place. Try to get the ball above the line of scrimmage. I didn't want to smack my center in the butt, that didn't work out very good. So I'm like, get it above the line of scrimmage. They're not going to be able to get a good push, so it's not, not as imperative to get it as high if you can think of all this stuff as you're going out there. But I'm just thinking, you have to get it online and give yourself a chance, right? So get to the ball, kick it, I look up, I'm like, okay. I didn't fall down, got it above the line of scrimmage. It looks like it's going fairly straight, but it's still got to go 45 yards in a blizzard's not an easy kick. And honest to God, as it's leaving, I'm like, got a chance, you're right? I'm like, okay, maybe. But But when it got to the uprights, it's snowing so hard, I wasn't sure. I couldn't really tell until the referees went forward and raised their hand. I'm like, oh my God, I made this kick. Like, I know the reporters said, after the game, like, what's the percentage? I'm like, I don't know, 50%. I'm like, I look back at that and I go, that's 2%. Like, honest to God, I don't know how many times you can make that, but made it when I needed to. Kind of had a plan. Kind of executed the plan, I didn't want it to come off like a 2-iron super low, but that's the best I could do at the time, and it was good enough.
And then you get, it unfolds into overtime. And I know, Matt, we were talking about this a little bit, almost anticlimactic because it was so much shorter, but there's still all that snow on the field.
Oh, no doubt.
More snow than was before.
Yeah, same mindset.
The only good thing, if you can say a good thing, is yes, it was 23, 24 year old, whatever,
close enough to chip it,
shorter. But we call timeout. Our guys are trying to clear off as much snow as possible, and then Gruden, maybe the only time that you should maybe not try to ice the kicker, if you will, because it gave us another 30 seconds. We cleared a little bit more snow. Wasn't completely clear, but it was way, way more clear, way easier. That one was one of those, like, yeah, you're going to make this. Like I had all the confidence in the world that I was going to make that, and kick it, look up, I'm like, oh, thank God. So, yeah, it was a wild day. I'm happy that it happened that way. Never would want to do it again, just because. But no, it was pretty awesome. I played in a few crazy games in Buffalo and stuff, but that 45-yarder to tie the game is by far my favorite kick I've ever made, even Super Bowl kicks and all that, just because the difficulty level was as hard as you could get. You miss it, the season's over. I mean, like, you couldn't stack any more negative or potential stressful situations on top of that kick, and to make that thing was pretty awesome.
It's really interesting to hear the way you say that, because there's so many people that would be, that's my job, and deflect. When you hear somebody like Bill Belichick, who's said it many times, and other great historians of the game call it the single greatest kick in the history of the National Football League, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's a huge compliment. It's awesome to think that, whatever. But as I look at other kicks and other things, I haven't watched every kick from every. I know the Pat Summerall one and some of those ones awesome too. But by far the most difficult kick I've ever had to think or attempt. And yeah, you'd have to. I'd be hard pressed to find another one that stacks up to that. But thank goodness my team gave me an opportunity to try it.
And a couple of weeks later, yeah, that's nothing. Right? Indoors, tie games
on turf.
That was pretty awesome too, because I just that game kind of back and forth, and then the Rams catch up, and oh my gosh, and I remember the commentator.
John
Madden saying, should probably just take a knee, and thank goodness we didn't. We had enough time, and our philosophy, or at least Charlie Weiss's philosophy, is let's see if we can get a couple first downs, if we can get in range. And in that year, I think I had 5 game winners, including that one and the one so we weren't blowing teams out, but we were winning games. And that's the cool thing about our team that particular year is we lost to the Rams earlier in the year, but it was a good game. Came right down to the end, and we built a lot of confidence in that game, and knowing that every close game, we were just building more confidence. And I literally remember them kicking off to us, and I go, we got a minute and a half left. I've seen Tom do it all year long. Like, hell yeah, we're going to do it again, right? J.R. Redmond, Troy Brown, bing, ding, ding, Jermaine Wiggins has one. And just a couple of plays, just bang, 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 all the way down the field. And I'm just thinking, hell yeah, And so the feeling for that kick is never, it's a game, you dream about it your entire life. As a little kid, you're like, as a kicker, that's the dream, right? Kicking a game winner in a Super Bowl. I mean, that's exactly what you think about. So I'm over in the net, and I'm watching, and I kind of have a routine, like, hey, when we get to a certain yard line, I start to warm up a little bit, and everything's sped up a little bit, so you start a little earlier. And it's funny, because in my entire career, when you get ready for game winners, everybody kind of treats you like you've got some rare contagious disease. You got leprosy.
You're no hitter in baseball.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk to you, touch you, say anything to you. 2 guys in my entire career, in 24 years, 2 guys, Willie Lawyer Malloy, the two guys that would say something to me. And Willie comes up to me as I'm walking in, and he gives me a whack right on the butt. Come on, man, go hit this thing. And I'm like, I can't feel my cheek right now, but thank you for that. But okay, good, you know. But and Johnny Rotten, our equipment guy at the time, Johnny Hildebrand, was like, you hit it, I'll get it. And he takes off down the sideline. So the funny things that you remember, because everything's happening fast but slow. Everything's slow motion, kind of, sort of. And you know, we finally, you know, dinking and dunking and dinking and dunking, and Tom spikes the ball, and it's, all right, get out there and kick this thing. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, 48-yarder, it's not a chip shot by any means. It's a long kick. But I'm like, this is, like everything's calm and quiet. Lots of stuff is going on, but it just kind of, your world just kind of shrinks to a little bit here. The only thing that I do remember is Rod Rutledge was my left wing, and Dre Bly's on the other side, and Rod is talking mad trash to him. Yeah, talking all just dumb.
I can see this. I can totally see this.
I can see it too. It's like just yesterday, right? And I'm the kind of guy that I like to get everybody set, because I don't want to take my steps back and wait back there for a long time. And so Rod's over here just talking trash. And Kenny's like waiting for me to get set. And I go, Kenny, make him stop. And he goes, Rod, get set. You know, and Rod's like, oh, you know, he gets down, right? And so the biggest kick of your life, and this stupid crap is going on in front of you, right? Like the stuff that's happening in front of you. And so I take my steps back, and Kenny gives the set call, comes boom, boom, boom. And it's like that golf shot that you don't even feel hit your club, right? Like it's just nutted, right? Perfect, right? And I feel it leave my foot, and without even looking up, I'm like, oh, that felt really good. And I look up, and it's dead center, and I'm like, oh, God, you know. And at that point, I turn, and I'm jumping around and whatever, and Kenny's grabbing me, and the confetti starts and all that stuff, and it was just I don't know, you know, it's just amazing at that point.
And now, great moments in history.
She had one where she was talking smack about Drew Bledsoe. I'll send that to you.
What? Oh, now it's on.
Now it's
what?
Now it's on.
That old ass quarterback Drew Bledsoe.
Now it's definitely a thing. No, but all I saw like Megan had like 100 different clips of her just screaming.
No.
But they had just won. Like, what is she supposed to do? Not go to the library?
Face.
Face.
Wow, now it's her face?
Oh, like just Schadenfreude. I just want her to.
I'm sorry, what was that word?
She's the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Not the wife.
How's it say?
Schadenfreude.
I was going to say, he went 0 for 2. He said it 2 different ways. Neither one of them was correct.
Schadenfrocken.
All right. What?
All right.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered. 855-PATS-500 is the TPX hotline. Podcast at patriots.com is the email address. Franklin in Baltimore writes in, while not exactly one-to-one, Barkley's impact in the playoffs is Terrell Davis-esque, and there's no amount of scouting or practice the Chiefs can do to prepare for his mix of speed and elusiveness. Eagles 37, Chefs 28. So put one down for the Eagles,
Bryden Saquon. I don't see it
so
that way.
I think that leads to an interesting stat that I saw today. The Eagles have rushed for more yards this season than they've thrown for. If they win the Super Bowl, it'll be the first time in 30-plus years that has been the case.
Dang.
It's 72, 73, 74, something like that. Miami, Pittsburgh, last teams to rush for more yards than they threw for to win the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it could happen. It could be a one-off, but I think you've sort of seen how you need to win.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be a game about possessions and long possessions, and you got to finish with touchdowns. Like, that's how I kind of see it stacking up. And as much as they want to run Barkley, or the Chiefs want to throw short passes, like, it's just going to come down to who scores touchdowns, I think. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out, 8, 9, 10-minute possession, 8, 9, that kind of game, back and forth with long, sustained drives that if you get stopped on 4th down or you miss the field goal, those things will add up, and that's going to be the difference.
Rusty in Arlen says the Hall of Fame will be announced soon, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. Obviously, we have one player who we can talk about. I think Suggs, Steve Smith, Reggie Wayne are probably ahead of Vinatieri. Which is it?
Vinatieri. I do Thierry, but I'm wrong.
I think it's Vinatieri, but
Yeah.
It used to be put in the media guide as Terry.
Terry.
But I don't
Terry.
think that's right.
Do you think he gets in on the first ballot?
Yeah.
I think he's got a shot.
Yeah.
Also, I want to ask about when Vinatieri left, since I was still youngish when it happened, what was the reaction? Was it mainly just money? It was all about money. Is it weird that he had all these iconic moments with the Patriots, then played basically a second full career with another team?
Yeah, it was terrible. I hated it.
Yeah, I hated it too.
It was one of my first, like, him and Johnny Damon were like
right
around
there you go.
the
Great
same
one.
time, and I remember being devastated about both of them and,
Yep.
and not understanding. But I was so Bill could do no wrong at that point that I explained it away. I was like,
I was so mad.
Yeah, but
I mean, this is Carlton Fisk for me as a kid.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing. You think of him as a Red Sox. Played longer with the White Sox.
Yeah.
Same with Adam.
Yeah.
Played longer with the Colts.
That's true.
Yeah.
But he didn't do as much with him.
Well,
what's going on
did
here?
all right. All right, wait, I want to get into my
Not
thing.
like
So
that's
Eli
all
Manning.
You have a thing?
Well, yeah.
he has a thing. Do you have a little
food for
poll?
thought. Food for thought. So is Eli Manning getting in? I mean, if he got in, would it?
First ballot, I would be disgusted.
I mean, is it? But is it two? Is it two Super Bowl runs? Is that what gets him in, or is there any
Literally,
other
yeah.
kind of?
Well,
It's who he beat
That
in
in
the
New-
two Super
that-
Bowls.
No, it's because
That in New York.
the voters have a
Being in
dig
New
at the
York.
Patriots.
and, and Manning.
So my food for thought was just, what could a defensive player ever do that? Could a defensive player ever get in on two, Super Bowl titles where they had an exceptional run? And this one particular player, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. In two Super Bowl runs, 6 games, this player played 6 games, 6 interceptions, an interception TD, 5 passes defense, 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, and had almost 50 tackles in those 2 Super Bowl runs for a defensive player. Those are pretty good stats. I just thought, Rodney Harrison had 2 really good Super Bowl runs. He was hugely productive. And so if you want to say, Eli Manning could get in off of 2 runs. I know everything else you're saying. I just thought it was interesting food for thought.
Yeah.
If you're talking about 2 playoff runs, like Rodney in those 2 playoff runs, I mean, that's crazy. Like 6 interceptions in 6
And I would even
games.
make the case that forget about the runs. He had a better career at his position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, sure. Like, maybe
I don't know
overall.
about that.
But I just thought it was interesting kind of comparison.
Rodney's my favorite
where-
Patriot, so I'm not exactly the most unbiased here.
But I just was, what jumped out to me is I thought of that, and then I'm like, well, what? I mean, and Eli Manning's stats in those 2 runs were great. I mean, he had like one interception in either of the 2 runs, maybe 2, but Rodney, my God, I mean, and especially as I've gone back through these games, like he's just constantly popping up with big picks, and obviously sealed Super Bowl 39, which was 20 years ago today. Hey, so I don't know. That was my little food for thought of just if you're going to get on,
he
2
didn't
Super
even get
Bowls-
on.
He didn't even get on.
No,
Yeah.
it's an anti-Patriots thing.
It is.
Rodney.
It is.
Yeah.
The voters don't like the Patriots.
Is there ever going to be a time that we stop with that?
No.
No.
Okay.
When they treat us like every other dynasty that's ever lived, then they can stop with that.
Right.
When they have 17 Pittsburgh Steelers in the Hall of Fame.
Stop trying to diminish our accomplishments, and maybe we'll back off.
100
Okay.
Dallas
Right, Evan?
Cowboys, 40 49ers, but
Yeah.
the Patriots
Defend the wall.
We have to scrap and claw to get the
Right.
greatest dynasty in the history of sports. Some Hall of Famers.
Hey, we don't get no respect. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable.
Hate
Bunch
us
of
'cause they
old
ain't us.
white dudes.
Yeah, they hate us.
They hate it. They don't even care about us anymore.
They'll die off soon.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Come on.
Irrelevant last year, but what are we going to do?
I'm kidding. Not really.
Ryan in Situate says Paul is a national hero. National
All right.
treasure.
Amen.
National
Amen.
treasure.
I don't know about that.
My new favorite thing in the show is, to nobody's surprise, one of Paul's quirks. Whenever an email or a caller chimes in and Paul doesn't agree, always turns to Evan, where they have a quiet conversation amongst the two of them where they take subtle shots at the opinion. To add on to that, I also love when Fred says something and Paul responds with something that completely contradicts what Fred just said. Fred simply replies with, yeah. Never change, love the show.
Yeah.
Chiefs 31,
Yeah.
Eagles 24.
Oh.
So,
Some high scorers.
yep. Let's see. Stephen in Ireland writes in, just in reference to the 2018 Super Bowl against the Eagles, something I've never really heard spoken, but I've always felt myself. Malcolm Butler being out wasn't as big of a loss to the team as Hightower being out was. In the 3 Super Bowls he played and he made plays to get a stop turnover in each one. If Hightower was healthy, I believe we win that game with or without Butler. I also think Butler in the AFC Championship game was not great, So maybe it added to what unfolded that led to the benching.
Well, Hightower was out for most of the season, so it's a little bit different. Like Hightower played 5 games in 2017, so it's. I mean, they were never going to have Hightower. Is my point. Like he was on injured reserve, he was out. They had Malcolm Butler healthy and available and didn't play him.
It's a good point though. He was a huge. I mean, I always reference that 2015 game in Denver when he went out, and then all of a sudden they just started running all. I mean, I think even the game-winning touchdown in overtime was like them just running wide zone, like right through the Patriots defense. But yeah, Hightower not coming back.
The Harper's Muff game.
Harper's Muff. That's the one. That's the one.
Jeff in Canada, I know this is probably not something the team would announce publicly, but do you have any inside baseball knowledge on any additions to the analytics department? Vrabel said the A word in his introductory press conference. Do we hear anything about that?
There is one guy that name is escaping me. I'll look it up. That came over from the Red Sox, actually.
Oh, right.
But this happened in
Chris Cotillo had that. I remember
in December, so it happened actually under Gerard, technically, and more of like probably an Elliott Gerard move. But there was a guy that came over from the Red Sox, and he's now working in the Patriots front office in the analytics department. So we now have 2 analytics staffers. We went from 1 to 2. We doubled in size.
Teddy Bruschi on with one of Paul's shows at the Super Bowl. That hair.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's thick.
It's unbelievable. For the Super Bowl,
Tell us more, Mike.
I'm gonna put your hands through it. I mean, it's wonderful.
This is still
He
Jeff
has
in
better hair
Canada.
than I do.
For the Super Bowl, I believe the
Absolutely.
Eagles are the most talented team. The Chiefs have played all year by a lot, and they're not ready for them. For this reason, 31-23 Eagles. Okay.
I don't know.
So the Chiefs haven't had enough good competition, is what he's saying.
No, which I'm not arguing with his premise that the Eagles are the most talented team. I think the Eagles are the most talented team in football, and they haven't played them. So this will be the most talented team they play. But like they're not ready for them. They lose by a touchdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's like they're not ready for them. They lose 41-20. That makes sense.
Right.
They're not ready for this step up in competition. Not 31-23. Like that game could go either way.
Isaac writes in, do you think Drake May's experience in the Pro Bowl and rubbing elbows with other stars helps the Patriots in free agency?
No.
Not really, but I think more about just him being around these guys and just being more comfortable being in a face of an NFL franchise, and I just think it's good for his confidence. I don't really care about playing in the Pro Bowl, getting named to the Pro Bowl, but just being there, being a part of it, being around these guys, getting to talk to some of the other quarterbacks, maybe pick their mind a little bit about their process and how they do it. Those are things to me that I think are most valuable to Drake from
Is
that.
it acceptable to just sort of say, like, I don't really think it has much impact either way?
Yes. That's what
Like, I don't think I certainly don't think, I think everything Mike said makes a lot of sense. And I don't necessarily think you need to go to the Pro Bowl to do any of that. So, like, can you just sort of say, oh, yeah, it's great for him. If he enjoyed it, I hope he embraced it and enjoyed it. But, if he didn't do it, I wouldn't think any less.
No.
That was the one takeaway I had. And granted, he could have just been putting on a good face for the cameras, but it did genuinely seem like he enjoyed his time there.
Yeah, I hope he did.
Yeah. And I think that could be potentially something, but I think it's a little overblown that, he's talking to Jamar Chase. Like, cool. Like,
But these
tell me when the Bengals give up Jamar Chase.
These guys work out together
Yeah.
to, and I'm sure that he'll do that in the offseason and be with, like, I don't know. I think sometimes we try to attach value to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with social media, they all know each other already. They're talking if they want to be talking.
Like, who's the quarterbacks that were they in the national champ? Was it Riley Leonard and Will Howard?
Yeah.
Yep.
That were like roommates at the Manning camp or something like that. Is that the one, or am I confusing that with two different guys?
That could be right.
But Drake is also
they know each other, is my point.
Drake is also at the Super Bowl. He's been walking around. I don't know, like, if there's a reason he's down there. I just saw Christian Gonzalez, I think. I don't know if he's down there, like, usually guys that are down there are sponsored by somebody.
I think he was doing a Tide thing. I think.
Okay, so,
Gonzo
but
did something with,
I don't think it hurts.
Bounty.
I don't think it hurts for him to be exposed to as many other players as possible, because you never know. A guy's like, I met him down. He's a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind playing with him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
No.
Let's see. Who's this? This is Mike. He says, you can tell a lot by the way a person sits and placement of their legs and feet. Fred and Paul sit with 2 feet firm on the ground. Fred being in charge, Paul thinking he is. Plus it's an old man thing. Evan sits with one leg folded over the other, straight form, basically claiming his superiority and someday thinking, I'll be the boss.
I don't know about that second part. But
Mike sits with one leg folding over the other at the knee, flopping the leg.
Very feminine.
He's contemplating if Paul will ever let him finish his sentence and questioning his manhood. Don't overthink it, gentlemen. It'll drive you crazy.
I gave you exactly what you wanted to.
I kind of agree with you, Paul. I'm not gonna lie.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Well, those new chairs we got, your legs are on display. I mean, I don't have to tell Alex about that. I think our first show you were.
Yeah, I came in. I was like, I'm like a skirt or shorts or a dress or something. I was like, this is not gonna work.
We had to raise that camera up a little bit.
Not to mention the chairs are so deep that I look like a toddler sitting in it because my feet are just like
No,
dangling.
you're supposed to
over.
like bring your legs up and get like really comfortable.
Cozy.
Are you not owning the chair?
Well,
No.
when I do get cozy in it, I'm like sitting cross-legged in it because it's so big.
It's very
but-
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I agree.
I try to own the chair.
And then I'm like,
I do.
crap,
I
my
try.
posture
Don't let the
sucks.
chair-
and
Shout out
I
Jerry.
look too comfortable.
But you see Edelman. Edelman always he's got kind of a thing that he does where he's got like his leg.
Yeah,
Well, they're
yeah.
like
He's got a nice
right?
couch.
They kind
That's
of
a nice
he's kind of
couch.
sits like Edelman.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
But
like-
he's always got like the short shorts
Well, he
on
wants
with
the
like the
thigh
big
time, yeah.
hamstrings and the
Yeah.
thighs out. You
He
know,
wants to
he's-
show it out.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Not me. Yeah.
Let's go to the TPX hotline. Nathan's in L.A. What's up, Nathan?
Nelson.
That's Nelson.
Oh, Nelson.
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 First time getting my name wrong, man. What's
There he
going
is.
on?
Sorry. All right. Just don't swear.
Man, my
Remember
prediction is the Eagles gonna win it 31 or 24. You know, like us, we won the Eagles the first time in the Super Bowl, and then they came out to beat us. Kansas City beat them the first time in the Super Bowl, and I think the Eagles are gonna come back hungry, and Barkley's gonna take it all the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Eagles. Put another one down for Eagles.
Oh, am I supposed to be doing a
It's
poll?
2-1 Eagles so far.
Make a little tally.
I do
mark.
like Fly Eagles Fly.
I didn't remember anybody.
It's a
picking
it's
the
a good
Chiefs.
Yeah, one person.
good song.
One person picked the Chiefs.
Yep. Eldred in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred?
Hey, fellas, hey, lady, how y'all doing today?
All right.
Hey.
Lady.
All right. Alex, excuse me, Evan.
Yes,
got
sir.
a phone to pick with you.
Love it.
Okay. About the receivers in the draft.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's gonna be McMillan related.
Play a game with you. Okay.
Sure.
One receiver had 96 receptions,
Don't care.
121 targets,
Yeah.
13.1 average, 1,258 yards, 15 touchdowns.
Okay.
The other receiver had 84 receptions, 130 targets, 15.7 yards per average, 1319 yardage.
It's a lot of
8
numbers,
touchdowns.
Eldred.
Which one would you take?
C.
I'm trying to follow all
Who plays
these
on the
numbers.
outside?
I'm gonna
Which one plays on the outside?
They're both outside. They're both outside.
I'm gonna say the second one. I couldn't keep track of the
I lost
numbers.
the
I'm not
numbers.
Okay,
gonna
the
lie.
second one? Okay, good. The second one is T-Mac, the one you said you wouldn't take.
Yeah, I
Ah,
wouldn't.
you picked wrong.
Who was the first one?
Who was the first one? Big E.
Travis Hunter.
Oh.
Yeah,
But I would
definitely.
take T-Mac at 4. But then again, I'd rather have the left tackle protect me.
Wow.
Well,
This is a
that's
big
gross.
day.
Wow. That's gross.
Big
right
E.
there,
Wow.
folks.
Eldred taking the tackle
love
over the
that, Eldred.
receiver.
The tackle over the receiver.
Wow.
We ain't got no line.
What happened? Do you hit your head or something? You fall down?
Eldred, that's big of you, man. That's growth.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but like I said, I'd rather have T-Mac if what you call. But I know what we need more, and that's for some protection. And if they go ahead and get DK, because they're not gonna get Higgins. Higgins ain't leaving. They get DK, I'd be happy. But I'd rather have T-Mac on the other side with DK, and you got a force with what you call it with what you call in the middle. So you got that. And the guy he might not have top speed, but he is fast, and he does get over top of the route, middle of the route, and he's contested catches. And once he gets the hand on the ball, he's gone.
All right.
So I'd rather have him too, but I'd rather have the tackle.
Who do you have in
Y'all
the
have a
Super
good
Bowl?
one.
Who do you like Sunday?
Oh, I'm going Eagles, 35-14.
Eagles. Okay.
Mhm.
Wow. Hold them down.
All right.
All right, Eldred.
Thanks.
Have a
call,
good
Eldred.
one.
Thanks, Biggie.
Thank you.
Love hearing
Stack
that.
them at the stem.
Yeah,
He had a lot of your buzzwords. You had to like that call.
I
like
love that call from Eldred. That was some real growth picking the tackle over the receiver. I know that's difficult for people like
fairly
Eldred.
stunning.
But I will say this about Eldred: him liking Ted McMillan's the most predictable thing ever.
Oh, I told you
that's
before the
his type
call.
of receiver. I actually, he read all those numbers. I often don't even look at the numbers in college. I don't really think that translates. N'Keal Harry had 3 monster seasons in college of production. But I hear what he's saying. He's a good player. I just think it's a little rich at 4. That's all.
Diana in New Hampshire, I read an article today that Adam Vinatieri wanted to stay as a Patriot, but they wouldn't give him multiple years, and Colts wanted him more and gave him what he wanted. Yeah, it had all to do with money. I'm rooting for the Eagles to win. Absolutely don't want Chiefs to repeat, as I'm sick of people saying Mahomes is as good or better than Brady. No way is he even close yet. Prediction, Eagles 27, Chiefs 24. So a close game.
I just think everybody's picking with their hearts, and they don't want Mahomes to
I
win.
can make
and
an
that's
argument
it,
for
you know?
the Eagles.
They're the better team.
No, I mean,
I
I'm
think
saying some of
the Eagles
the
have better
emails we're
talent.
getting.
Yep.
Sure. But I feel like a lot of
I don't think they're the better
our
team because
listeners
I think
are.
there's just too big of a difference in the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But I think you can make an argument that top to bottom they have better talent.
I guess, we're saying the same
Yeah,
thing.
Mike in Charlotte, Eagles 35, Chiefs 21.
A lot of points.
Over
You know.
48 and a half.
Wow. Yeah, better go get those points.
Oh, well, I missed that?
Eagles.
I'm with Deuce. I think a lot of people picking with their hearts, not with their heads on this.
Martin out of Kansas says, my pick is Chiefs 36, Eagles 30 in an overtime win. Chiefs three-peat.
Another
And
fix.
food, I'll be grilling some marinated skirt steak to make tacos, beans, rice with homemade salsa.
Nice.
That sounds good. I think I'm going to do a roast. I'm going to try to do a roast.
You're going to do a roast?
I'm gonna try to do a roast.
That seems a little aggressive for Super Bowl.
I'd like to get
But it'll be
aggressive,
nice
right?
if it
What is it,
snows
the
and
4th of
it's
July? What are you doing a roast for?
It's my
No, but
wife's
like,
holiday roast.
No, it seems like too much work for
Well, you
you
just
know.
get the meat,
You
you
just put
tie
it
it
in the
up, you
oven
put
for
some
a long
sun in it,
time.
and you grill it.
A roast.
You roast it
Nice
up.
roast.
Yeah.
I just think
pot
it's kind of
roast or-
odd Super Bowl fare.
Yeah,
I don't
really?
think it's all that
A
hard
big
to
hunk
cook.
of
I'm
beef.
making oysters Rockefeller.
I'm coming.
No, I've had
I'll be there.
I've ever since I went to my sister's for Christmas, they made a roast that I just was like, oh my god! It had the horseradish and
You'll
everything.
never,
so
you'll never match.
you're
match
probably
it.
right,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna try.
All right.
That's a good pick, Deuce.
Yeah.
Don't let them.
Yeah.
Don't let them talk.
Maybe some
Especially
mashed
with
potatoes.
how cold it's going to be, the snow, nice and cozy.
I just think like the Super Bowl to me is sort of like
Buffalo chicken dip,
apps.
wings.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
an apps
it's
day.
easy stuff.
Easy
Stuff you
know,
can pick at because it's a
and
long
something-
day.
Something
Yeah.
for everybody. Maybe
Yeah.
some pizza.
You're right, the picking at stuff
Well,
gradually, like
Calzone,
I'm with
pizza.
Deuce.
You got pregame,
I'm
you
with
got
Deuce.
Buff dip.
game, you got halftime, you got second
I'm
half.
not having a party though. Like it's just my family. So I'm like, let's have dinner and then we'll have some picking snacks too. But the focus is going to be my roast.
there's no wrong way.
I'm with
to eat
Mike.
food
You
on the
have
Super
one
Bowl.
big meal because, like, I don't want to be distracted by having to, like, I'm
Like,
hungry.
now we're
and
having
I'm
Yeah, but
like
then what if you're in a
beans
food coma and you fall asleep?
I can see Mike. He makes this beautiful
Good
roast, and everybody eats all the other stuff, and nobody eats the roast.
Well, it's
the only
just
one eating the roast
It's
is
just
Mike.
my wife and my kids. We're no party. I mean, we're going to be in the snow. I'm not going to run into a problem like Paul's got to figure out how to get grandparents to and from through a blizzard, and it's
I'm
complicated.
worried about the snow. I am.
I'm a little worried about the snow, but
Yeah.
the food I'm not worried about.
Yeah,
I think I might have to cancel my plans.
It's like mac and cheese,
I'm never worried about
buffalo
the-
wings,
Oh, yeah.
dip, absolutely, nachos.
Yeah.
Nachos, I
Maybe
think I'm going to
maybe
whip
some
up
pizza.
some nachos.
Apps. It's Super Bowl is a day of apps.
Yeah.
Day of farting all day. People have eaten all that. But.
Well, good thing you're just with your family, so
have
you don't
cheese.
have
if you have a roasted
sit there
potato, you
clenching
don't
your
fart.
butt cheeks.
I'm gonna have cheese and then some more cheese, and I'll probably throw some cheese in there.
Maybe some beans on the nachos or a bean dip.
Just lighten up
What's
the
going on in the
house.
bullpen? What is going on in the bullpen? I don't
He's just
know.
really worried about his
Fishbowl in
digestion.
his own house.
Sunday.
Fair enough.
You
Fair
gotta
enough.
get those things you plug into the wall and
know that.
lets out the good old.
The Glade plugins.
Right. Holy mackerel.
Mozzarella cheese sticks.
Another solid option on
Potato
Super Bowl.
skins,
I won't
side
have
of cheese.
I think we'll have potato skins.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just little cheese
I
on there.
think we got like a
Sour
cream?
three-way. It's wings,
Hey-o.
sticks, and skins.
I like the wings. I like the wings.
I'm not surprised that you're a potato skins guy. That seems right up your
It's
alley.
not my favorite.
Really?
I mean, I like
think-
them, but
yeah.
like, if I have like the buffalo stuff, not I would go to those first.
Okay.
Wings.
Fair enough.
Wings are my favorite. Buffalo.
Yeah.
Fred's been out with me enough.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Have we ever gone out with and I didn't get buffalo
No.
wings?
No, gotta get wings.
Gotta get the wings.
Adam in
And the bone
Louisiana.
not the tenders with no bone. That's
Yeah,
not
no
a, that's
chicken
not a wing.
tendies.
Right, that's not a wing.
That's called a boneless chicken wing.
It's a tender.
No, it's a tender.
It's a
Chicken
boneless
tender.
chicken tender.
Boneless chicken tender.
No, boneless chicken wing.
They just call it a boneless wing to make you feel
There's
better
no
about
such thing
yourself.
as a boneless wing.
Yeah, there is.
No, there isn't.
That's what it is.
It's not.
What part of the chicken does it come from?
I don't care.
Not the wing.
Not
Right,
important.
exactly.
Yes.
You
Not
grind
the
it
wing.
up,
Exactly.
Make it into a
Good,
shape.
good, Alex. Why do you have to be stubborn?
Because when you go to a wings place, they're called boneless wings.
Very few do that anymore. They've been corrected.
Correct.
Yeah.
The
I think
real
that-
establishment.
We've been over this
tenders.
before.
Boneless tenders.
But I think the biggest
called
way
false
to
advertising.
separate
Nugs.
tenders
Spicy.
are not sauced. Tenders are dry, and you dip in sauce.
Buffalo tenders.
Buffalo tenders.
Boneless wings
Says it right on the menu.
are sauced. They're tossed in the sauce,
Sauce.
but not
Milky sauce.
not the tenders. Those are dipping. You dip those.
Oh, okay.
So
There you
the
go.
the Wendy's spicy nuggets.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spicy
That's not a boneless wing in your mind.
No, because it's a nugget,
It has sauce on it.
but it's
And it's hot.
nugget shaped.
Yeah.
See, it's just the shape though.
Yeah, boneless
It's like
wings-
pasta.
Your boneless wings aren't shaped like wings either.
Shape's a factor.
Yeah, but they're not shaped like wings. Your boneless things.
Your things.
Your thing.
Oh,
They broke ground on the Chick-fil-A up here. I
people
don't
with
know
the
if you saw
food.
that.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Did not.
We should
But
go
you
for the
are,
ribbon
you
cutting.
are all in on Chick-fil-A.
We should go
huh?
for
Breaking
a ribbon
news
cutting.
here?
No, that was on the
breaking
Gillette
wind, I know
Stadium.
that.
But
We need a sweet
But we
cream.
just got a Chick-fil-A in Walpole about 3 miles that
He's
way,
very excited about it.
and now we
He's
got
been
one
to
coming
it like
in here.
15 times.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I got kids and they like it.
I just like
When
doing
he,
my
when he was
boneless
Bachelor
wings
Mike, it
bit.
was
Oh,
every night.
That's for
Gets
Mike
him
went at
fired
least
up.
twice. No question about it.
You like? What do you get at Chick-fil-A?
I'll get a chicken. I did
get
a
a
grilled
chicken
chicken sandwich a
sandwich.
couple times. I was trying to
Really?
be healthy
Grilled
a
chicken
little bit.
sandwiches
They're
are
pretty
solid.
good. They're pretty good
That's what
still.
I eat.
They don't do anything bad
I always
there.
get some of those nuggets though.
It's
I
all
always
good.
got to get a little the little
Yeah.
wing dang things they got there though too.
Adam
are
in
nuggets.
Louisiana.
Lemonade's good.
He says, Fred, I have a gripe with the Patriots Pro Shop.
Oh, good.
Why can't I buy a Tom Brady jersey in the old 2000 style? I went through my collection of jerseys and realized I don't fit the clothes I wore 15 years ago. Shocker, I know, but I was looking to buy a new one, and all they have are the new blueberries. I want the nostalgia. I don't want to buy a jersey in the new style for players that hardly or never wore them. Also, I don't want to buy them because I don't think they'll be around much longer. Any hints on that, Fred?
Huh. I think that's a great email. I think those unis got to come back some capacity, especially in the pro shop. I mean, come on, leaving money on the table.
When did they switch from Reebok to Nike?
2012. Yeah.
Oh, was it that?
2012.
So that's
Yeah.
probably why you can't find the early 2000s ones.
Yeah.
Try eBay.
You can't do the custom ones. In the.
I think it's just the blueberries.
Oh, I thought you could pick. Maybe
eBay's
it's
the
just-
way though.
Maybe it's just the throwbacks that they let you pick.
So what is the blueberries?
That's the
Current
current
uniform.
the current blue
That's the
ones.
current uniform.
The
Yeah.
color rush that turned into.
They're mockingly
Yeah.
described as blueberries.
And what were the ones before that?
I call them the Dynasty uniforms.
The Dynasty uniform.
How about that? They won 6 Super Bowls on them, right?
Okay, but how do you refer to that color blue? Wasn't it the same color blue?
Dynasty blue.
Dynasty
Wasn't it the
blue?
same
I don't
color
know.
blue?
I think I have. That's a good question, Fred. I think it maybe the pants when they switched to the pants, it brought
The
the
pants, I
out
know
more.
that changed.
It
And
really
like
was
the
like just
modern
too much
style
blue.
with the stripes, it looked like the red throwbacks, but
Yeah.
made blue for color rush.
Yeah, I don't care for them. Yeah.
Okay. Juan writes in, this whole debate of TB12 versus Mahomes seems silly. Until Mahomes does the following, I'm not willing to consider the whole discussion. 1, Mahomes leaves and wins a Super Bowl with another team out from under Reed. 2, Mahomes wins a Super Bowl without Kelsey. Brady did it without Gronk, the most amazing comeback ever. Also, Fred asked the question, who doesn't like Andy Reid? That's easy. Go watch the corniest commercial ever made, the old Bundarooski,
It is
and
pretty
you'll
bad.
change your mind. It endears you to what would your ideas be for a new uniform with a new era of quarterback and head coach? Fred, do you know of anything in the works since we're eligible for a uni change this season? There might be some information coming.
I like Paul's. I think your favorites are the white shirt with the red pants. I think.
Oh, from the late 70s?
I like
Yeah.
that. That's something that's been kind of lost a little bit that they haven't really worn recently.
I just don't think there's a lot of that color combination in the league. I feel like there's a lot of very similar colors.
Yeah, well,
but
Buffalo is. I mean, Buffalo. I mean those colors are kind of Buffalo. I mean, if it wasn't that you're wearing, right? I mean,
Yeah, like our throwback colors,
I've
the
always
Bledsoe
like I
blues.
like this hoodie because it's very comfortable, but I always am kind of curious about the color of it.
Yeah.
Matt, it seems audio has been lost.
Right back. We're back up.
We're back up. We're
the
back.
audio board glitched and shut down. You guys were off for 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Wow.
That's an eternity.
Let me recap what we have said.
Oh my God!
Our whole wing
Oh no, not the buffalo wing combo.
Alex is throwing f-bombs around left and right.
Buffalo wing combo made it on. Don't worry.
I'll
thank God.
recap quickly. If the Chiefs win, it's only because of the crooked refs, and the Eagles will win, and Mahomes stinks, and everybody hates Andy Reid.
And scene.
Chad says the other blue was called nautical blue.
Nautical blue.
Oh.
Okay.
Dynasty blue sounds.
Remember the
better.
hex code of it? You know, you get like the hex code that tells you exactly what blue it was, and then you
066223,
could
yeah.
and then you could, if you're a T-shirt making person, you want the right blues.
They don't know how to code,
blame
so
you.
they don't know what we're talking
I blame
about.
you for this.
Me?
I do.
How's it my fault?
You should be talking more ball back there.
Eric seems to think he has the answer about tenders versus wings.
Oh, okay.
A tender is a whole tenderloin uncut.
Okay. Yeah.
A boneless wing is a tender that has been cut. A nugget is a ground mixture or a cut that has been pressed and shaped.
I think you nailed it.
So boneless wings do exist.
Yeah.
No, boneless wing.
No, because it's not from the wing, like he said.
Boneless wing
Like
is an
Eric says.
oxymoron.
Right.
Tenders.
Exists.
Either way, they're delicious. And
I like them too.
If it's chicken and it's fried,
Oh,
I won't
you
say
can fry
no.
anything, right?
Todd says, seeing it's the off season for us Patriots fans and somewhat boring. Oh, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
My son Tyler and I were wondering what Fred gets for lunch when he says his food is here before going to break. Any local places that stand out in the Foxborough area?
Oh no.
Fred switches up the meal.
My lunch choice has to do with what I think I'm going to be eating for dinner a lot of times.
Yeah.
So if I think I'm going to have a lot of food for dinner, I try to scale back.
Yeah.
What
do you got on the tap tonight? Like, you got a sandwich today?
Evidently not going to have much for dinner
no.
because he housed a steak and cheese sub.
A small one.
That looked, by the way, fantastic.
And it smelled good
Smelled
and it
good.
tasted good. It was really good. Yeah, I mean, let's play pizza time.
Pizza? I've heard of that
Yeah,
place.
we go there sometimes.
We had heard about it. We gave it a shot. We'll see if we continue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
They're mad at Paul, though, I think.
My
have to
favorite
We used
local
to run-
establishment's right down the street.
They really are mad at Paul. Every day I order, he says, "That's it, Matthew. Come on."
Was he really?
That pepperoni pizza. Come on, man.
So they know of us.
I might have to step up my game, but I need more money. I just can't.
Small pep.
Just can't afford it.
Yeah.
The delivery driver calls me Kevin still.
Rob in San Diego, my wife listened to the last few shows and really enjoyed the donut debate and the Taylor Swift discussion.
Hey.
I told her about Mike's story of getting off the bus in Bridgeport, Connecticut to play hockey, and she agreed. Mike was right to be apprehensive.
I was.
She's from Bridgeport, and honestly, I'm scared of her on a daily basis.
That's funny.
Ba-dum-bum.
That's a...
That brings me to my off-season question. What's the sketchiest stadium you've ever been to, football or otherwise, whether because of the neighborhood or something else?
Ooh.
For me, while you're thinking, for me it was watching the Rams play at the L.A. Memorial Coliseum. I parked far away, and I'm about 99% sure I walked through Skid Row to get there. The former New Haven Coliseum is a close second for AHL hockey.
Yeah. I've been to the Coliseum. That's pretty accurate.
I was about to say the Coliseum.
You're parking in crappy territory. and
You're
then you
right
gotta
by Skid Row.
Walk right through
The New Haven
that all.
Coliseum?
No, in LA.
LA Coliseum.
Oh, the LA Coliseum.
The USC Stadium.
That one was pretty bad. I mean, the old Chargers one was pretty crummy. Not
Well,
like
the
shady,
stadium
but just the
itself was
stadium was
dumb.
crummy. Yeah, the area was
in
fine.
terms of bad stadiums, the Oakland one,
Yeah.
San Diego
Yeah.
one, Jack Murphy. I know it wasn't that.
Veterans Stadium was a dump.
The Vet was a dump.
You got a hamstring pull just walking on the field. It was
FedEx
terrible.
in Washington right now
That's a dump.
is really at the bottom of the league, and they're building or in
Yeah,
works
they
building.
just got approved.
Yeah, but nothing beats the Coliseum in LA.
I've never been.
The only parking lot that I've walked through that I thought things could get iffy here was Oakland.
Yeah.
Like there was like some stuff going on. Now
I don't really remember any of that.
The Bills can be crazy, but it's in a good way. Like they'll throw a beer can at the bus and stuff like that.
In a
but
good way.
In a good way.
I don't
It's all
care
in
for
fun.
it.
I mean,
it's all in
I
fun.
got a concussion,
I didn't
but it
care
was
for
fun.
it.
I mean,
They're
being
throwing
honest,
rocks at the bus.
the old Patriots Stadium, that was a little scary
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I mean,
That's
that
probably
was
the
pretty
sketchiest
terrifying.
You're right.
I was pretty
You're
terrified.
right.
I
mean,
learned
that-
a lot of new words in my first game, 1976.
Shout out to that
yeah.
emailer's wife for not calling me a mean girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
she
yeah,
doesn't
that-
care for
Yeah,
Taylor
mean
Swift's
girl.
Alex
style either.
was not happy when she got called
Well, what do you
out.
think of her Grammy outfit, Alex?
It wasn't that bad. She must have heard our discussion, but I don't think it's a mean girl of me to, one, I'm a Taylor Swift fan. I paid my good money to go to those concerts. And two, like, she's a $1 billion entity. That's not, like, pitting two women against each other. That's all I'll say.
That's all I'll say.
Wow.
Drop the mic.
You said a lot more than that off the air.
Did she have like a chain with a T on her thigh too?
So, like, call me a mean girl if, like, if me and Tamara had beef. That's one thing. We're on, like, similar level. Taylor Swift is a $1 billion entity. That's criticizing a corporation.
Right.
Big word.
Right.
Big word.
You know?
The question, though, Deuce, was the T for Taylor or for Travis?
Yeah.
That was the controversy.
It's for
Travis,
probably
pretty
Travis
hot, right?
because she has a song.
Well,
I don't
kinda
want to
corny
go
if
into
it's
the
for
lyrics.
Travis.
It's a corny lyric, to
It's
be
a little,
honest.
It's a little corny. If it
What
was
if he's written mine on my upper thigh? So it was falling on her upper thigh.
Ooh.
God, that's
Hey now.
relax.
Jake in Melbourne, Australia writes in, just looking for some clarification on why a quarter or a half inch of arm length seems to be a pretty big defining factor and why Campbell could be as high as 4 to the Patriots or some mocks having him around 10. Also, would Nick Scorton be worth the assets to get into the 15 to 20s range in picking him?
That's welcome to the craziness of the combine, baby.
It's a good question. And the threshold used to be 34 inches, and then Rashawn Slater came around. Now it's 33 inches. So really, it's just a matter of the old cliche. Like it's really not any more complicated than that. Obviously, you want to be able to keep guys at arm's length and at your fingertips, and the longer that you are, the easier that is to do, just from a technique standpoint. But there will be a day where a guy with 32-inch arms is an elite tackle because he's just that good, and maybe that's Will Campbell. Like, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But there have been guys that have been on the lower end of the spectrum. We had one here. Matt Light was on the lower end of the spectrum and was a great player for a long time. Right now it's Rashawn Slater. Joe Thomas wasn't particularly long in the arm, so it's not like you can't do it. But that's the old adage, is that the longer that you are, the easier it is to keep guys at bay in pass protection, especially.
Yep.
So can I just say one thing to add to this? And I think Evan just perfectly gave you a million examples of guys that didn't fit the mold but I know that it sounds silly on the surface, like, well, his arms are 32 instead of 31 and that whatever, but it's not all that different as to like why a wide receiver might be a candidate if he runs a 4.3 40 as opposed to a 4.4 40.
Yeah.
Like one is fast and one is not, and that can be the difference between being elite and just being okay. Yeah. And it's the same thing for a tackle. Like, and again, there were plenty of wide receivers who ended up being great that didn't run explosive speeds. Larry Fitzgerald was never considered one of the fastest players.
Jerry
in the
Rice
league.
wasn't either.
Jerry Rice, was not considered one of the fastest. So you can succeed anyway, but it's the same thing. It sounds silly, like the length of his arm, but it matters. It does matter. It's a reason why it's always been considered like that.
It's interesting.
Game of inches.
Because it's almost like you have to have the cojones to play a guy with shorter arms at tackle, because so many teams just move them automatically inside. Like Peter Skoronsky was a all-conference offensive tackle, left tackle at Northwestern for multiple years, and automatically just got moved inside because his arms are below 33 inches.
By
the Titans. And so all it could take is that one team has the gumption to say, nope, we think this 32-inch guy can play tackle, and then all of a sudden the threshold changes again, So it all depends on your preference.
Does Marcus Allen ever get old?
No.
So it's funny. I'm watching
on TV
on
right
my
now.
shows. Marcus Allen is on, and people just keep coming up to him.
Yeah.
In the middle of the show.
Yeah, just interrupting
the
the
mayor.
And former teammates and whatnot, and they're just like in the middle of the show. I can only
Rod
imagine what it
Woodson.
sounds like.
Yeah. I was going to say a thing to watch too with the arm length a little bit is Joe Thuney playing left tackle in this game, and how does he do against the Josh Sweats of the world? And I think you might see some of that, some of why length is important at that position.
Tony says this is going to be a tough game. Hate the Eagles for beating us. Hate the Chiefs for being good. Plus, I've hated Kelsey ever since the playoff game in New England, where he mocked Brady doing his let's go pregame. Saquon is the only person I can cheer for, so I guess I'm picking the Eagles. 10-6 slugfest because it's what the NFL deserves for giving us a rematch.
Huh.
Do any of you have any personal grievances with players or coaches in this game?
Personal grievances.
With players or coaches? No, I don't. I don't.
No, I don't really. And I know exactly what he's talking about with Kelsey, but I think those guys are just so good. I'm like beyond the fandom of like, they were taunting us. Like, like I just, at a certain point, you just have to accept how good these guys are and how consistent they've been. But I really like Philly's defense. I really like watching those guys. I mean, Jalen Carter, there aren't a lot of defensive linemen in the league that are actually fun to watch, and he's one. Chris Jones is one. Like to see those guys.
I mean, I definitely have those kinds of grudges, though. I don't know necessarily on these two teams.
Right.
I don't like Travis Kelsey. I don't like the personality.
I have no problem with him.
He's kind of a bore to me.
Yeah, he's kind of a tool a little bit, but also like not enough that I would hate him.
Yeah, and it has nothing at all to do with Taylor Swift.
No, this was well before.
I think he's just that typical bro that I just kind of don't like.
But he's a guy that if he was on your team, you'd probably love him.
Well, he's a great player, so yeah.
Yeah, but the personality.
But like Baker
love if he
Mayfield,
was yours.
I've always disliked Baker Mayfield. I think he has great personality, like the commercials and stuff. I used to think
Why'd you say that about
those are really
Fred's
funny.
guy?
I know.
Because this is
Baker
how it
Bake.
started. This is how this all started. You guys don't know all. You guys don't know all the history.
Back in the 1900s.
That's why we had to let Baker bake.
Dan in Virginia and Michigan, the NFL finally got something right. It was announced yesterday that the NFL will be playing a regular game in Australia. The city they have chosen for this game is my hometown of Melbourne. The NFL picked the right city to host the game. It is the most sports-mad city in Australia, and it's the best place for sports in a country where sports are prominent in our identity and culture. Also, Melbourne is like Australia's Boston for a number of reasons. Like they have bad traffic, or like what is it?
Let's put another shrimp
They
on the
have funny Australian accents
Right,
from Melbourne.
I know. They're gonna have all like the stereotypes for the game, like the guy playing the didgeridoo, like with the national anthems or something.
He's right though. I went to college with a kid who studied abroad for a semester at UMass. He came to UMass only because it was in Massachusetts and close to the Patriots, so he could go to Patriots games.
But like of all the places in the world to visit, like Australia is not even on my list.
Really?
No.
It's
If it wasn't so far,
there's
definitely
nothing
would
unique
go.
Australia and
about
New
it.
Zealand are in my
Other than being
top
like in
10, I
another
think.
hemisphere,
Yeah.
like there's nothing like historical about it.
Oh,
like
that's true.
They have
you
cool
know, it's a
animals.
Penal colony.
they have
right?
animals. Oh,
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean,
places
Crocodile
don't have
Dundee scared me about it. I don't know that like
no,
shaped
but
my
like
knowledge
really,
of it
like
when I was a kid.
But, like,
so you
cool
go to
animals.
Europe or Asia, and like there's
You want to see a koala bear?
like a different culture and a different
Kangaroo?
history and things to look
Joey?
at, and I don't know what's different about Australia to America.
Well, I think you're gonna get some emails here in a second.
No, like
find out.
it's like us. Even
Bold
the country's
strategy,
even
Cotton.
shaped the same, except it's upside down. Really,
It's
it's
just-
like us.
It's just for me overwhelming thinking about the flight. That to
I-
me,
and
And
I am
that's
just
and
like,
that's the killer.
Yeah, 24 hours on a
I
plane.
don't even like flying to California, and it's like 6. And
That's all I'm thinking about, and the amount of time that you're gonna have to go for.
if we get over 10 hours, I think I'm out.
I would
think
break
I'm
it
out.
up. It would have to be like a month-long trip where I
fly to
stop
Hawaii.
in Europe first. Yeah, fly to
Not all
Hawaii.
of us can take month-long
Yeah,
trips.
Will's thinking
I certainly
about-
can't. So
Will's thinking about doing a
it's a
semester.
hypothetical,
there, too.
Evan.
Look at this. Marcus
year.
Allen's now handing the
Sydney?
mic over to some random lady.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where.
with
but
huge Coke bottle glasses.
And her eyeglasses are. Oh my God, that's a thick prescription.
They
I
had
feel
Dan
bad.
Orlovsky on earlier.
Is that his handler?
What
I
is
would
going?
assume That's probably his handle.
Oh, are they
Some bad
maybe?
radio.
Oh, they're
What?
having technical issues.
What is going on here?
Yeah, I
Marcus,
don't know.
Marcus Allen is.
It's bad radio. We're talking about something people can't see. All right, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Let's get into it.
Oh, should we?
Yeah.
All right.
So we've got the Eagles and Chiefs. What time's the game start? 3:30?
6:30.
Oh, 6:30.
3:30.
3:30 on West
What are you,
Coast is
12?
great.
I was thinking
God.
about the pregame
Oh,
show.
well,
Yeah.
all right.
3:30.
That's 3:30 on the West Coast, though, is great.
It hasn't been
awesome.
that, my God, since we were kids.
I know.
We were kids.
Yeah.
Forget about. They weren't even a twinkle in anyone's eye.
So what happened last? Well, did we already go over?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
So Evan was the only one that went 2-0 with the championship weekend. The rest of us were all 1-1.
Good job, Evan.
Good job, Evan. So with the spread, Evan and Fred went 1-1. The rest of us went 0-2.
Ooh.
Poop emoji.
Yeah.
Poop emoji.
So
I was picking
here
up
are
my
the
heart.
updated stats. Overall winners: Mike and Paul are 9-3. Evan is 7-5. Fred is 5-7. Alex is 6-2. Did not participate in division round.
When
weekend.
did I? How did I not participate? I texted you.
I did not receive the
You
text.
answered me.
I did.
And you also a couple weeks ago told me I had an incomplete. It was the first week I was gone. You said I had an incomplete, but I was on that show. It was a setup of 4. I sat on the ottoman, and we did the college national championship.
No, the only one that I missed was the division round games. I didn't get any picks
On
from
the
you for
air
division
though,
round.
2 weeks ago, you said I had an incomplete. I was listening.
Yeah, Paul, come on.
Because you didn't give us picks for the division round. Now, if you gave them to me and
But I
I
did.
did not see them, then my apologize, as Rob Bradford would say on WEEI.
Remember I sent you the picture of a volcano too, and you said pretty cool.
I saw the volcano. I didn't.
You didn't see the
pics
pics right in front of it. I have all the games listed
That's
out,
the Paulist
and
thing
then
ever.
it's a picture of the volcano. I said, "Look, it's a volcano eruption."
So
'cause
that
it
is
was-
the Paulist thing ever.
And you said pretty cool.
I will add those if I can find them. But
She has it
anyway,
right there. You caught up.
How
I
big's
have the
your
receipts.
font? We'll figure it out.
Shut up.
We'll work it out later.
No one likes you. Mike with the spread is leading at 7-4-1, followed by Paul at 5-6-1, then Fred at 4-7-1, and poop emoji Evan at 3-8-1. That serves you right for making fun of my eyesight. Alex, you're 4-4 with an incomplete.
Pretty cool.
Asterisk.
It's a volcano.
All right,
He
so
goes,
we
"Pretty
got
cool."
we got the
And then I listened to the show on
Where are your
airplane.
picks?
I'm
like it was a cool volcano. Like
I know.
Pretty cool.
I didn't see the rest.
Not wicked cool. Pretty cool.
So Fred, you can now
do what you
No.
do.
Okay. So
volcano
as we
eruption.
know,
That's what I saw. I did not see this up here, however.
Hold, please.
So let's see. They didn't cover. They didn't cover. They pushed, and
We're watching.
We'll
this
work it
happen
out in
live.
time
This
for
is
the
good
newsletter.
radio too. Really good.
are you not aware of who's playing in the game?
well, I'm waiting for you to.
I
finish
said
it.
I'm all set. We're
Okay.
ready for you to introduce the game.
All right. So the game's at 6:30. That's Eastern time.
Thanks.
It's on Fox, Tubi, Fox Deportes, and Telemundo.
Tubi. I'm watching on Tubi.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
No
It's the
Peacock?
15-2 Chiefs against the 14-3 Eagles. The Eagles are the home team.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Eagles will be wearing green.
Kelly green.
And KC back in white. KC by 1.5.
That line has not moved, right?
Yeah.
I have KC by 1 on ESPN, but
I had DraftKings this morning. Said 1.5.
And
we
go
go-
with
we go by
Paul.
DraftKings.
We go with Paul,
We go by-
100%.
No, we go by DraftKings
Always.
because they're a sponsor.
Via Paul.
Thank you. So I guess I'll kick it off. I kind of hinted at a little bit. I think it's a game with a lot of long possessions, back and forth. But I like a low-scoring game. I don't. All these people saying like in the 30s versus 30s. I don't see that. I think this is a game in the mid-20s to low 20s. I'm going to take Kansas City. I'll say kind of a weird game, like 27-21, Kansas City.
I'm not going to win anyway, so I'm going with my heart. Go Birds.
Fly Eagles fly.
Philly 24, Kansas City 21.
That's a good score.
Close game.
Like that.
There is a lot of things I like about Philly in this matchup. Pressure on the quarterback, Saquon Barkley. But what I can't get out of my head is that eventually the game is going to be in Jalen Hurts' hands against Steve Spagnuolo in the Chiefs' defense. And I think the Chiefs' defense, just like they did to Josh Allen, makes a play late and makes sure that they get over the top. So I'm taking Kansas City 27-24 in a thriller classic.
I too am going to take Kansas City. I just think the Eagles. This is a bad cop out. If the Eagles can, I don't think that Hurts can do that again. So for that reason, I'm taking Kansas City. I think they have enough defensively to make sure that doesn't happen, and I don't think they'll let Barkley, have 3 70-yard touchdown runs. I mean, if he continues to do that, and he does, more power to him. I'm going to take the Chiefs, and I'm going to say 31-23.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about the Chiefs defense and the Eagles front line, and they should, and Spagnuolo, and the coaching matchup, which Andy Reid probably has the edge. But at the end of the day, because I think the defenses both are good, I think it is lower. I think it's going to be under the 48.5. And at the end of the day,
don't skip ahead. One
team has Mahomes and the other doesn't. And I like him having the ball with the chance to win the game. I think the Chiefs win the game 24-23.
Oof.
Oh, so that's not a cover.
24-23. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game. But at the end of the day, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
After all is said and done, Taylor Swift and Kelsey and the coaches.
Taylor's an Eagles fan.
Yeah, and all that stuff and everything else going on. Chris Jones and the front line for the Eagles. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
I believe
it. Fred talked about briefly the over-under. That's set at 48.5.
48.5. 27.
So
Shoot,
based on this, you're
I think
under.
I picked a push. Yeah.
You picked 27-21.
No,
You picked 48. That would be under.
Oh, right. Numbers.
Do you want to go over?
No. I like the under.
So
I'm on
Alex,
the under.
you picked 45. So you would take the under.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking the over.
No.
It goes over.
Yeah, over is a good bet also because, in these games, typically the defenses get tired at the end and fourth quarter they start going up and down the field.
Well, you are also 47.
Yeah, I'm under.
So you're under.
That's what I was going to say, though, Fred. You're right. And these are two really good, talented defenses. Are they going to get tired? Does that happen to every defense, or could this be a year where the defenses play well down to the end? I don't know. I just have a lot of respect for both defenses.
Long game.
Yeah, it's hard to say the Eagles are just going to roll over at the end of the game.
You pick a pretty high scoring. You pick 48 points.
Yeah. It's also you get into the chess match, and usually with the great offensive coaches, they kind of figure it out by the fourth quarter of what the defenses are doing to them, and they have some answers. Especially a guy like Andy Reid. Once he the game declares, he'll have some things for Fangio.
I think the AFC Championship game and the game that Kansas City lost.
Yeah.
It took them a while, figured it out, and then they couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the over-under.
Because of illegal picks, but yeah.
Saquon Barkley rushing total. 111.5.
111.5. That's a good number. Shoot, I'm gonna say over, but it's just not enough.
Over.
I'm gonna pick under. I think they're gonna go into this game, Kansas City, and say we have to get this game in the third and pass, and have to get it in Jalen Hurts' hands, and we'll load up to stop the run. So I'm gonna take the under.
I'm going to take the over just because I feel like Kansas City will make sure that the passing game doesn't hurt them, and they'll say, go ahead, try to do it 5 yards at a time. I don't think you can. But I think he'll rack up some yardage, Barkley. So I'll take the over.
I am going to take the under. Part of taking the under overall. So.
Okay, this is I have a couple of regular ones, but this was a little quirky one. Xavier Worthy, rushing yards. 6.5.
6.5.
These are official from DraftKings, by the way. I didn't just make these numbers up. I didn't pull a Morel and just put up any number I wanted.
I like it. I'm gonna go over on that one. I think that's a good one. I think that could be part of the plan. Try to get outside.
Basically, you're asking, are they going to hand the ball off to Xavier Worthy or not?
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, over.
I'm going to go over, too. I think if there's one thing you want to do against a Fangio defense is try to use motion and try to get outside if you can. And so I'm going to go over.
Yeah, me too. I think they'll give the ball to Worthy a couple of times in this game. He's probably the most dynamic. He is their most dynamic player. Get the ball in his hands.
I think they'll get the ball in his hands, but not as a rushing play, so I'm going to say under.
Okay. My next one is Travis Kelce, receiving yards, 61.5.
Well, I think this might be his last game, possibly, and I think he'll go out with a good performance, and I'm going to go over on that one.
Under.
Oh, Taylor Swift hater. My God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Should really
over as
stand up
well.
for fellow women.
I guess.
I'm gonna go over as well. I just feel like in a game of this magnitude, Mahomes is gonna look for his most reliable guy.
I'm going to take the under because I think that they're good enough defensively to make them do it a different way. Can't do what like Houston did and just say, go ahead, keep throwing it to Kelce. You got to make them do something different.
I'm going to say over. I think that the Eagles get aggressive up front, and I think he's going to slip out a few times and get over. What is it, 61 and a half?
61 and a half.
Yeah, I'm going to say over. Not by a lot, but
A.J.
over.
Brown is next up, 70 and a half.
I'm going to say under on that one. I got a lot of respect for Trent McDuffie. I think he's sticky, and that's where I'd be putting him. So, yeah, I think he'll do a good job. Yeah.
Also under.
I'm gonna go under as well, but I do think AJ Brown has a big catch, but it's like 1 for 40 or something like that. So I'm gonna go under.
So I'm going to take the under too. You think it would be McDuffie on him?
I don't know.
Not Smith?
I don't know.
I think so. I agree with Mike. I think McDuffie on AJ Brown.
Just wondering about the size.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I have the under as well.
I'm going to say.
I don't think they can throw it like they did.
Yeah.
Two weeks ago.
I'm going to take the under on that as well. Yep.
Sorry, Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, as Gronk calls him. Mahomes. 251 and a half yards passing.
Passing yards?
No, not rushing, Mike. You were waiting. You were
When
waiting
that's
for
when
that.
you throw the ball.
You were waiting for that clarification. I could tell.
Shoot, I'll go over on this one. It's hard to bet against Mahomes, being underproductive, and I just think he'll have a good game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go over too.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in the secondary. I for the Eagles. I know that they've played, like Quinyon Mitchell played really well. Slay is still a pro's pro.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, don't forget about Cooper DeJean.
But I'm going to take the over. I think Mahomes will figure this secondary out.
I'm going to take the over too, and 60 of those yards might come in the last possession.
I agree. Like, don't you just feel like that's where it's
I feel
headed?
like I can pencil in another one of these shortly. But the last prop bet I have is Jalen Hurts' passing total. 212 and a half.
Whew. That's a good number. I'm going to say under on that one. I think that's where the game is lost.
Under.
I'm gonna go over. If I'm gonna go under on Barkley, they gotta get some yards somewhere, so I'm gonna go over.
I'm going to take the under again. I just don't think it's the kind of passing game. I think the Chiefs will get enough pressure on him, and I think that's the kryptonite for Hurts. He can't really. It's ironic because he's such a great runner, but he's not good off platform.
No.
Well, think about that number. That's a low number for a quarterback in the modern era. So if he gets 213 and you pick the over, you win. So I'm going to pick the over, but not by a lot.
213 is more than 212 and a half. Can't argue.
My point is, you can go over, and it's still not a great game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's kind of what I was.
But these numbers are established.
I know, based on performances in the past.
They don't know anything.
The season.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just the last thing was just MVP.
MVP. Mahomes.
Everybody going with Mahomes?
Yep.
Well, I picked the Eagles to win,
Oh, then
so
you have to pick somebody
I
else.
guess I go with Hurts.
Okay.
Actually, Saquon.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So go ahead, Fred.
You could Peter
whatever
King
you were
it
talking
and
about.
say co-MVPs. No, I'm going to go with Mahomes. Yep.
I feel like it has to come down. Like, you think the Eagles, man, I think they might get him, and then it's going to be
like every
a
other
minute
Chiefs.
30 left, and Patrick Mahomes, here he comes, and it's like Brady.
bad
I mean,
vibes.
it's what it is right now. I mean, unless I would just say we talked a lot about Super Bowl 52. Like, is it that kind of game where yes, Mahomes and Kelce, they go off,
600 passing
but
yards still
Philly
lose.
goes off too? Like, is that a
Yeah.
possibility?
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Is there a missed field goal in this game?
Oh, that's a good one.
No.
I'm going to say yes. Usually there's a missed kick.
The Eagles have been shaky kicking-wise all year.
Yeah.
I say no.
Okay. How about a defensive score?
Or say yeah.
There wasn't the last one, right?
Yeah. I'm going to say,
Hurts
you mean the
fumbled.
matchup?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Hurts fumbled, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
Ponderoski,
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Nope, that's
No.
not it.
No? Nah.
I'm good.
Not feeling it, yo?
Not feeling it.
Just feeling that roast and potatoes?
It'll be good. I'm gonna send you guys pictures.
The more
I'll
we
put
talk
them in the
about it, the
newsletter.
better it sounds.
It
Can
should
we
go
do
in the newsletter.
Should we do rate
It should.
Deuce's roast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be next week's newsletter.
You have to have like a chef's hat on though, and like,
Speaking of the newsletter, if you want to sign up for it, go to patriots.com/PU newsletter. And you do want to sign up for it, so that's your homework assignment after the show. Patriots.com/PU newsletter. Sign up. Everybody, enjoy the Super Bowl. Have a good time, whatever you're doing. Watch out for the snow. Get into a safe place. Don't drink too much if you're driving. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.